Happy Tuesday, everybody. Welcome to the Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700. I am Sean O'Connell. I'm going to try to get you through a Tuesday where there's just not a lot to be excited about if you're a Utah fan, if you're a Utah Hockey Club fan, if you're a Utah Jazz fan. Although maybe if you're a Utah Jazz fan, you like the way things are going. We'll see. Michelle Bodkin's going to join us today at 12 o'clock. Tom Callahan, NHL insider, to talk about the struggles of the Utah Hockey Club. My guy, Jeff Schwartz, to touch on the NFL and the national scene in college football. And, of course, Gordy Chiesa every Tuesday and every Thursday in the NBA season. He will be joining me in half an hour here on the Sean O'Connell Show. There is a dark cloud that has settled over the Utah fan base. Alonzo Sariñana, who is on the ones and twos today, pushing the buttons. I know you're fully aware of this. It's gotten bad to the point where I put out a question that I thought would bring some creativity out. I thought people would maybe have a word or two of encouragement. The question I put out there was a fill-in-the-blank type situation. The spark that Utah football needs will come from blank. Question mark? The responses have ranged from the predictable, got to be in the trenches, got to be physical, all the way to there's no spark coming. It's not going to happen. There is abject pessimism from a good portion of this Utah fan base right now.
The vibe has deteriorated pretty quickly.
This answer is, I think, a really interesting one. Donors with much deeper pockets and an offensive approach not steeped in early 2000s pro style. Well, that early 2000s pro style is coming back, is actually fashionable again in the NFL right now.
Yeah, we're seeing it. CC, the Washington Commanders.
The cycle, the pendulum swings back and forth. So the passing league and the passing sport has regressed a little bit to being very run heavy. And I, for one, love it. I know that not everybody does. I understand that sentiment for Utah football, people not wanting to put all the eggs in the basket of an old school approach when you do see some of the most prolific offenses in college football continuing to throw the ball all over the yard. And look, it's because of quarterback talent. When you have it, there are plenty of guys. You can walk into a neighborhood in South Florida or Southern California or Texas or Louisiana. You can throw a ball, and the first person to pick it up is probably going to be someone who you could get to play wide receiver for you. Like, wide receiver is a dime a dozen type position. No offense to wide receivers, right? Wide receivers are replaceables. Quarterbacks, that's hard to find, and we know that the struggles Utah's had with the quarterback situation this year and last year as well. Although it's so funny because when you think about the struggles you had at the quarterback position last year, every Utah football fan listening to this show right now would trade that quarterback room for the one you've got right now, which is really saying something. Because that was a pig farming walk-on who ended up really being your answer in a lot of cases. And look, your defense was awesome last year. I took a lot of heat yesterday, by the way, because I didn't let the defense off the hook for the University of Utah because of the missed tackles and because of the performance where you let Houston run for 200-plus yards, et cetera. A lot of the stats thrown at me are like, this is a top 25 defense in every sense of the word. You can't ask more than that. And to some extent, that is correct. So there's a little fight left in Utah fans, all right? But there are some who have just cashed out. They have just, the
towel has been thrown by some
I'm not doing it anymore.
Yeah.
I can't handle it.
Well, and I mean, it's one of those, too, where, the beginning of the season, right, expectations were sky high. And then now, where you're at now is the realization of, none of that panned out. And so, I mean, there's that disappointment, right? It's just like on Christmas when you thought you were going to get that sick bike, and then you open up the big box that you thought was a bike, and it's a chess set. Like, the vibe just gets sad.
Yes, the vibe continues to deteriorate. Like you said, expectations and reality. We had that conversation already on the show. People are sending me gifts, Vince Carter gifts. It's over. Telling me about this Utah football season.
I mean, but it's an interesting dichotomy of, like, when you see, like you said, you caught some heat yesterday. You were catching some strays.
Yes.
And to a certain degree, rightfully so, but we'll have a conversation about that later. But then on the offensive side, it's over. Like, it's the Vince Carter meme. I don't understand it.
So I'm going to keep reading a couple of these responses because it's interesting. Sadly, I'm not sure there will be one. The talent is there on paper, but it hasn't translated on the field. Offense continues to regress. Now, this is the key point is in there. The talent is there on paper, but it hasn't translated on the field. Do you believe that Utah is a talented football team still? When you watch this team play, do you look at the roster and you look at what other teams have and say that this team should be able to push that team off the line of scrimmage? This team should be able to tackle that guy because my guy's as athletic or athletic enough to tackle that guy. Do you watch this football team and say, there's guys that are fast enough, tall enough, big enough, whatever, to go out there and catch passes if we can find somebody who will put the pass in the right situation, the right location, the right timing? The answer to all those questions is yes, you do believe that. Right? Right?
Yeah. No.
I think.
No, I agree with you.
877-353-0700. Tell me if I am wrong here. Tell me. Is this a situation where we were just wrong about what Utah has talent-wise? I don't think that's true. I look at Dorian Singer. I watch him play every single week. Dorian Singer is a dude. Dorian Singer is a guy that if you put him on any field, he can be productive. You put any uniform on that guy, and he is going to be a player. Dorian Singer is that guy. Brant Keithy is that guy. Mekhi Bernard, we did not give him enough credit coming into the season. All of this, you look, and sure, I'm naming the top guys, right? But I look at Carson Ryan. I look at Dallin Bentley. I look at Caleb Lohner and the little flashes we've seen from him. Do I wish there were 10 guys at every position on this team that I could say that about? Yes. Do I wish that the guys that we know this about, Junior Tafuna, Keanu Tanuvasa, Van Fillinger, do we wish that those guys had stayed 100% healthy or will stay 100% healthy? Yes. But I keep looking at it, and like Logan Fano does not lack for athleticism and talent. He doesn't. There's nothing missing from that physicality, that body, that build. He should be Bradley and I. And he's not. I look at Lander Barton. Lander Barton is built like Coin Deng, who was a Cal linebacker who led the country in tackles. He's built like the long, rangy, even if the floor on that build is like Diabate, who was here, the Florida transfer from a couple years ago, right? He's not the fire hydrant build linebacker. He's the rangy guy. Do I look at that dude and say he's not talented? No. The talent is there, not just on paper. The talent is there in the rooms. The talent is there on the field. It's there. It's not consistent. The performance is not consistent. The discipline is not consistent. In the case of Lander Barton, I feel like it's okay for me to do this with Lander Barton because of the expectations we had for him, how much I gassed this guy up all season long, all preseason, I should say, how much I told everybody that this guy was going to be a borderline All-American. We know what he's capable of, right? We saw the early versions, the young version of Lander Barton, like, oh, wow. There's going to be some growing pains, but when he actually grows into the system and grows into his body, he's going to be a real problem. And you see it when he's in position, specifically when he is blitzed into position with a good call. there are very rare cases where he does not overcome the resistance physically, right? When it's like, hey, see ball, get ball, just do that. He's hard to block. He's a decent tackler. The problem is when it's like in space, left to your own devices, this requires some technique and some discipline. All of a sudden, things deteriorate. It's not because he's not talented. It's not because he doesn't have the athleticism. It's because he is not doing it. He's not executing. 877-353-0700. I'm not going to single out and beat up on guys. I'm not going to do that. But it is just, I see a response on Twitter like that. The talent is there on paper. It hasn't translated on the field. You're absolutely right. It hasn't translated on the field. But why? How? It needs to. This coaching staff came into the year talking about, man, this is as talented as we've been, as much team speed as we've had. And I know they have to say that to a certain extent to make guys feel good and to keep them around and to, oh, yeah, this is why you came to Utah. There's a certain lip service element to that. And it's not all that, though. I mean, Teo Johnson, visibly, watch him. He flies around. He's a good player. He's also not one of the reasons why your team keeps losing these games. Offensively is where I probably should be focusing. Spencer Fano is going to be an NFL football player. He hasn't been perfect this year, but he's going to be an NFL football player.
Candidly, some of those names you just listed a few moments ago are going to play on Sundays.
We'll see.
Some of them. Not all of them, but some of them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not like they're not ripe with dudes that can make it at the next level.
Which is why I spent, 25 minutes yesterday ranting about whatever else is missing, because I don't think talent is the thing that is missing. And you know when you're going to realize it? You know when we're going to see this manifest itself in the most unfortunate way? Is if this team doesn't get it turned around, watch the hyenas come into the carcass of Utah football season in the transfer portal.
The portal, yeah.
If this was a group of guys who are just not talented, you would see very little of that. But watch it happen if this does not get turned around. And guys make phone calls to their old high school coaches, their old high school teammates, or their whoever, like, hey, I think I might look for some greener grass, and watch them all get snatched up. That's not the norm, by the way. We did this in the offseason, Alonzo, didn't we, where we looked at how many people had entered the transfer portal this cycle,
yeah,
and how many have actually landed at another Power 5 school.
Yeah.
And it's like a small percentage.
Yeah, it wasn't a huge, like the number was preposterous, and then it was even crazier how it was like it amounted to roughly like 20%.
Yeah, it was like there were like 2,000 guys that entered the transfer portal. Anyway, I'm getting off topic here a little bit. The spark for Utah football is going to come from where? And here's one from Kevin in Utah. It's irrelevant. Stick a fork in this team. They're done for. There's no way they win another game this year. What are we doing? That's not true, Kevin in Utah.
Tough.
I actually.
But I get it.
I was about to say I understand where you're coming from, but I also kind of don't.
I mean, I get it. It's like when your team is down in the dumps. Like last year when my Lakers were just trash the entire time, I accepted they were trash. So I get it. And now I'm asking myself in the new Lakers season, who is this team and why are they good? So I get it. Have you seen any of these texts yet by chance?
I just logged in to the text line.
There's some good texts in there.
Spot on. Talent is there overall minus QB. Talent only takes you so far if the team is mentally checked out. And this is, I think, the big issue for Utah football right now is whatever dissonance, communication errors, not on the same page, whatever's happening with coaching staff and player with senior leaders, with the guys that I keep holding up as examples of like, hey, he's doing it right. He's playing hard every week, and everyone needs to get on his level. Like, there's some disconnect between those guys and the rest of this team. And attitude reflects leadership, right? Shout out, remember the Titans. So maybe there's something broken. Not maybe there's something. Definitely there's something broken in the chain of command, in the communication, in the culture. It's what we talked about on the show yesterday. But it's not a lack of talent. I'm not going to let this team off the hook in that sense. It would be okay to struggle if you didn't have guys that were good enough to play at this level. It would be okay. It would be understandable. It would be what we were expecting from Arizona State this year. Remember when we were in the preseason? I kept telling you, this Arizona State team has 60 new guys on the roster. 5 of their best 10 players left in the transfer portal from last year. And now they might not have like Big 12 caliber players. And look what we actually saw from them.
And I mean, and I remember as we talked in the preseason, when we looked at the schedule, I remember we broke it down game by game, right? And you were the one that said that game was a trap game. Well, when you got there, there was nothing to trap, right? So, I mean, even the expectations were different. 1095 text in, OC Witt says, you know who a team is 5 to 6 games into a season, and where we're at that point where we just need to accept this Utah team is pretty good on defense, horrible on offense, largely due to an inadequate quarterback contingency plan. I mean, this fan base is smart because Coach Witt does say that.
The quarterback contingency plan is also a really interesting conversation for me because I sympathize with those who are like, you got to have something better than a true freshman who, quite frankly, just isn't ready to play. And I think it's okay to bench him and say, hey, you're just not ready to play. We gave you a long leash to try and prove it, and you're just not ready. We're going to go with Rose, or we're going to go – it's going to be Rose. Heward is like is he still with the program?
As far as I know, he is.
I don't – like, we haven't seen Sam Heward. He hasn't traveled. He hasn't gone to those road games. I don't know what the deal is with Heward, right?
Yeah.
So –
but as far as I know, he is.
It would be Rose. I think it's okay to tell Isaac Wilson – and when you tell the player, you're telling the support system of the player, right? You're telling the player and all of his best friends. You're telling the player and all the recruits from his high school that you're hoping will come play for you, saying like, hey, you're just not ready yet. It's okay to send that message because it's true. He's not ready. And there was a very, very long leash. There was a very generous amount of wiggle room offered.
A lot.
And it's just not there, and that's fine, and it doesn't mean he's doomed or he should go somewhere else. It is what it is, all right? When you have a situation like that one, what's your quarterback contingency plan? Well, how many individuals wanted to come here and play behind Cam Rising? How many individuals were willing to put themselves on a shelf when there's no semblance of a quarterback battle? If you were going to come here as a transfer quarterback to play behind Cam Rising, you were going here with your best case scenario being the worst case scenario for the team. Your individual best case scenario as a quarterback, thinking about the University of Utah, your individual, this is the best thing that can happen to me, is also the worst case scenario for your football team. Because Cam Rising being injured was the worst case scenario. That's what has happened. We can all sit here and say, you got to have something better than a true freshman. All right. How many of us have actually gone out there and had those conversations and said, hey, we want you to come play at the University of Utah? If you're a quarterback worth a plug nickel, are you really coming to play behind Cam Rising, especially if you have limited eligibility left?
I mean, Coach Witt alluded to it. Someone asked him in media, you know, how much harder is it to get, you know, a graduate commitment here in the portal? It's hard.
Dude.
It's hard.
You know who is this? Who is the guy that like took the chance? Sam Heward. Sam Heward is a former 5-star recruit who started games at Washington, didn't work out, started games at Cal Poly. This is what you can get in the transfer portal when you have an incumbent 7th-year quarterback. This is what you can get. And I'm not going to be here defending everything that his coaching staff does, but I am trying to be a realist about that. So the contingency plan at quarterback has been a big conversation among Utah fans. And while we all wish that the room was better behind Cam Rising, trying to construct a room that is ready behind Cam Rising is going to be a bunch of talented young guys who are not yet ready, waiting for their turn behind the guy who is unequivocally the starter.
And a couple have patiently waited. Brandon Rose has been here for a minute. Luke Batari committed to Cal and came back. So I mean, it's not like it's just a super a super talentless room, if you will. Sam Heward, like you said, 5-star guy. Isaac Wilson, if I'm not mistaken, was a 4-star kid. So I mean, there's talent there. But to your point, the incumbent was Cam Rising. The plan was all along it was Cam Rising. It was always going to be Cam Rising.
I like this. All right. Where I got to find this conspiracy theory. Yes. Anytime you want me to read your text on air,
don't do it.
Start it with conspiracy theory.
Yeah. Biggest piece of advice to the listener: don't ever say, because he'll just read it verbatim.
I'm going to do it.
Oh boy.
Conspiracy theory here. I think Wilson got the backup green light out of camp to lure the 5-star receiver to commit to Utah. Playing chess instead of checkers. That's more like playing Parcheesi instead of checkers. Okay? I don't think he earned it, and players are pissed that another option probably was better, Rose or possibly Heward. Okay. Well, that is a conspiracy theory. It's also one that is allowed to grow and you are allowed to you're allowed to cultivate when you're looking at a situation like Utah right now, because Isaac Wilson, let's be honest with ourselves. Isaac Wilson, when he was given the backup job, everybody was excited about it. Okay? Let's be honest with ourselves here. When Isaac Wilson had a great spring game, Utah fans were beside themselves with excitement. When Isaac Wilson got the backup job, the future is now, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, you got your upperclassmen, you got your legend, and you've got the next man up. This is perfect. And that excitement died as soon as we saw that the freshman had freshman tendencies. Now, does he have an incredibly live arm? Yep. Does he have some athleticism so he can keep plays alive with his legs? Yep. Does he check the boxes that you're looking for with a starting quarterback? Yep. He just isn't ready. You ever do this when you're cooking? Maybe you do pizza night, family home evening. It's Monday. You go to Trader Joe's. You get the pizza dough. You get all the cheeses. Grab some Italian sausage, some pepperoni. Maybe get a little bit wild and you do like a little basil pesto as a sauce base. You're excited about it, right? You throw that bad boy together. It's perfect. Okay? Little garlic salt. Everything on that pizza, everything on that pie is phenomenal, is what you need. All the component parts are there. You're pumped about it. You put it in the oven, all right? Your kids are being crazy, whatever. You smell something burning. You pull it back out of the oven. Wasn't the pizza that was burning. It was a little piece of cheese that dripped off the side of the pizza and hit the burners, whatever, hit the coils on the bottom of the oven. That's what was burning. But you decide you're going to cut the pizza anyway. You take a bite. It's not ready yet, Alonzo. The dough is not crisped to the proper form, all right? The cheese isn't melted to that golden brown perfection. You don't have the appropriate amount of grease starting to sweat out of those pepperonis that you put on there.
The center's clearly not melted.
It's just not ready. It's still a delicious, amazing, incredible pizza, but it's just not ready. There's nothing wrong with that pizza as it is. It just isn't ready. That's what you looked at this year with Isaac Wilson. There's nothing. The kid is not lacking any of the things that you will eventually want a starting quarterback to have. He's just not ready.
And you saw glimpses, though. Like, you saw the glimpses of the potential, but to your point, he's just not ready. He's 18 years old. He's a kid. Nothing wrong with that.
The conspiracy theories around Isaac Wilson now, I'm not going to go so far as to say you give someone a job in hopes that their injury-prone high school teammate is going to come play for you. I'm going to reject that one. But I do think now there is some kind of balance. There is some pro and con weighing when you talk about, like, well, how soon does this kid expect to play, and how vulnerable is he to transfer if we don't allow him to feel like he's like part of our plans.
That's what sucks about this era.
This era means that you have to tread very, very lightly. And the other thing that really, really sucks about that is when you're weighing in for like the backup quarterback job. And this one is very unique and specific, right? Okay, no one in the room expects that they're going to be given a shot over Cam Rising. Nobody has that expectation. Nobody believes that. Heward, Rose, Batari, Wilson, they all know they're competing for the number 2 job. They're competing to be the next man up, right? And the unfortunate thing about if we are willing to give credence to this idea that you are handing out reps and you're handing out opportunities based on the fear of transfer, part of that decision-making is, well, if I'm going to give it to this guy in hopes that he doesn't transfer, I'm going to take it away from another guy and accept that, yeah, he might transfer. That's the other thing that really sucks about this particular era, because quarterback is the most, I guess, significant position for this because there's one guy who needs all the reps. But if you're saying, hey, Isaac Wilson will make you the backup, will give you practice reps so you feel like you're part of something and you will have no desire to leave. That message you're sending to him is also sending a message to other guys that you like, other guys that you want to stay. And it's sending a message you don't want them to get. It's sending a message like, Rose, if you feel like you got to go, we won't stop you. Hey, Sam, thanks for coming here, but if you feel like you got to go, this is the role you have on this team. Like Batari, they like these guys, but at quarterback, you have to make these hard decisions. And so I guess I didn't intend on us putting on our tinfoil hats to start the show today, but if that's where we're at, and if the decision to, I guess, end up starting Isaac Wilson, because obviously Cam went down and he became the starter, if you think it was motivated by the idea that, like, hey, you just can't let this kid leave the program, what you're talking about, you're questioning this coaching staff in a way that I'm not comfortable coaching them. Or I'm not comfortable questioning them, excuse me. If you are of the belief that they only gave Isaac Wilson the starts and the reps to keep him from leaving, you're saying something, you're inferring something about this coaching staff that I am not willing to infer. That they are making fear-based decisions on one particular player. That they are so desperate for the approval of the Wilson family and of Isaac himself that they would compromise the game plans and compromise the ability for everyone else on this team to compete at its highest level. I don't believe that about any coach on this staff. That's where the conspiracy falls apart for me. You don't give Isaac Wilson the keys to the car if you don't think he's ready to drive the car. You can be wrong about thinking he's ready to drive the car, and in some ways they have been, but you don't just toss him the keys like, hey, I know that you'll throw a tantrum if I don't do this, so here you go. That's not how this thing operates. So I'm not going there. I have to push back on that. All of you out there who think so, I have to push back on that.
I mean, candidly, you can't operate in fear of the portal, because the portal is just a part of the deal. and you just have to do what you need to do, what's best for you.
That's right. And more importantly, Isaac Wilson, it's all in or in the way. That's your philosophy.
Right.
Everything we have heard from Isaac Wilson and that we know about Isaac Wilson is that he's on the all-in side of that. By inferring that this guy is only getting these opportunities because he has in some way threatened to leave the program consciously, subconsciously, quietly, loudly, whatever, is, again, you're undermining the work that he has done to put himself in this position as such a young player. Like, we have gotten so out of pocket as a fan base that you're now questioning your head coach, you're questioning everyone involved in the quarterback room, you're questioning the player himself, and you're saying nobody deserves this. This is just being done strategically. That is wild. And you're also ignoring the fact that you yourself were very excited about Isaac Wilson's performance in spring and about the news that he was the backup. You're ignoring all of that because now you want to feel better and you want to have some justification as to why 4 games in a row have been lost.
Yeesh. My, have the turntables turned. There is a conspiracy theory I have, though, that I think we're going to have pizza for lunch. I think that's where I'm at.
Really?
You don't want pizza for lunch?
I mean, I love pizza, but is it because I was talking about the pizza analogy?
Yes.
Oh.
That sounds fire now.
All right.
TBD.
Opening segment of the Sean O'Connell Show brought to you by Alvi Armani. If you're having hair issues, ladies, gentlemen, maybe it's thinning. You don't need to let it thin anymore. Let Alvi Armani help you out. Find them online at alviarmani.com. Tell them ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM sent you. All right, Gordy Chiesa joins us next. We're going to talk about Taylor Hendricks and his leg. Oh, terrible. Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 700. Have I told you about the partnership between ESPN 700 and Breitling? Breitling, a proud partner of our 2024 University of Utah football coverage. Whole selection lineup available at octannerjewelers.com. I'm looking at the selections right now, and I'm profiling you right now, Alonzo.
Whoa.
And I'm like, you know what? You're definitely you're an Avenger chronograph kind of guy.
I'm a chronograph guy. Yeah, that's true.
The blacked out night mission version, it's versatile. You can match it with most of the outfits that you wear because you're often clad in the darker shades.
That is true. Being colorblind, that makes perfect sense.
I think that's what we're going to end up encouraging someone to give you for Christmas. Now we got to figure out who cares about you enough, who loves you enough.
Kendall O'Connell, if you're listening.
My wife gives you this watch for Christmas. It'd be amazing.
I know it's not coming from you.
Anyway, check out the full lineup at octannerjewelers.com. Something for every occasion, every outfit. Breitling, more than just a timepiece, man. This is innovation. It's incredible. And they've got the new Endurance Pro. If you're not familiar with the full lineup, the updated lineup, go check out the Endurance Pro at octannerjewelers.com. All right, we welcome Gordy Chiesa to the show, our NBA insider. Gordy, how are you?
OC, I'm doing fine. Thank you.
We'll just get this out of the way. Taylor Hendricks' leg exploded on him. Non-contact injury, gruesome, ugly to watch, gross. He's out for the season. A loss for him, for the timeline, for the Jazz of trying to develop a young player. What does it mean for the franchise?
It sets him back individually as far as his development. Let's not forget, he's so young. He turns 21, OC, this November 22nd. So this is a young person's injury. He'll bounce back. So it'll set him back individually, but also the team as far as trying to develop. I keep thinking about the other players that had injuries that were, they thought at that time, devastating. About a few years ago, it was Paul George who had the same injury during the workouts in Las Vegas, and he came back within a year and became a high-level player. Let's not forget also Kevin Durant had a torn Achilles. He came off it. And then late, great Kobe Bryant came off with Achilles injury also a year later, and he came off it. And then Klay Thompson last night with back-to-back years of being injured, he came back. So at age 21, it's bad right now, but with the rehab and as far as his diligence about it is that he'll be able to come back and hopefully even stronger. Last point about that. Also, you know about injuries as far as being an athlete is that it's very lonely when you're injured because in a team sport, most of your teammates are now they're playing and they're traveling and they're practicing, and then suddenly you're by yourself, usually with one assistant trainer, and you're doing motion rehab behind closed doors. And it's a very lonely existence, and that's why it's so important. The mental is just as important as the physical, how to drive through it.
I want to talk about Lauri Markkanen, and look, we're only 3 games in, so we're not going to overreact to anything. The opening night, he looked great. He was incredibly efficient. The last couple of games, he's had rough performances from the field. He was only 4 of 15 last night. Good beyond the arc, but is that because everyone is just throwing their defense at him? They're making everyone else on the Jazz beat them, and they're just trying to make sure Lauri never gets easy shots? Or is he
That's correct, partly, yes.
Okay.
That in the game planning, he's the main focus point where they're giving him different looks, some physical, some double teaming. So when it's one-on-one coverage, they're up into his grill, and now they're making him become a doubt driver versus a rhythm jump shooter. And then as a change-up defensively, the rivals are double teaming him in a running trap and forcing him to be able to make a pass out of it. Now, if I was counseling him, is that the second I pass the ball in a double team, I'm making a straight blast cut into the middle of the paint area and give me the ball on a return pass, or after I pass the ball, I'm going to go right to the elbow and demand the ball there. And so what you want to do is when you're an elite player, don't let the defense take you out of your own game because of the game planning. And you've got to be aggressive and get the ball back. Last point about that, your teammates have to not forget about you. So when you're a star player, even though the defense is trying to stop you, you should never go in the fourth quarter more than two times in a row without touching the ball. And so these are all things that you have to work on, both the physical and the mental part of it. The Jazz need him to score the ball roughly 24 points a game, but be more efficient right now. The Jazz OC are last in the NBA in overall shooting. They're number 30 in the NBA. They're only shooting 38.3 from the field, and they're 25th in turnovers, averaging 18 points a game. So last year they struggled defensively. This year so far, it's been the opposite side of the ball.
What did the Jazz do well last night to make Luka have such a rough game? He was only 5 of 22 from the field.
They did the same script against Larry Marketing, where they got up under him, and he was playing laterally, and only he knows why, that he didn't respect the opponent, and he dribbled the ball way too much sideways versus what? Being in a strike mode. So last night he goes 5 for 22 OC, which I call igloo shooting, where he was ice cold, and 1 for 9 from threes, even though he did 9 rebounds and 8 assists. When you are a star player, you've got to be in a strike mode on the dribble. And he's dribbling the ball around way too much and then shooting that lazy, flat-footed, semi-fallback three-point shot. The one three-point shot he made was the one the Mavericks needed a bad. The Jazz, they come back, they're down 6 points with 2:48 left, and he came down in transition and drilled that three. That was his only triple of the game.
Gordy Chase is my guest here on the Sean O'Connell Show, talking about the Utah Jazz off to an 0-3 start, which from a fan perspective, not ideal, but from an organizational perspective, when you're getting some bright spots out of these young guys and you're finding yourself losing games, which in the long run puts you in a better draft position. I mean, I've beaten this subject to death probably, Gordy. We've talked about it every single time, but is this the correct balance for the Utah Jazz? Get some good moments, but also don't win the games.
No. In other words, when you're, I keep thinking about Colin Sexton. So I'm going to take the viewpoint of the players, where it's hard to do. They thread the needle. Where when you're a competitor, you want to win every game as much as you can, and so you try to win the game. If you're not as successful because the other guys are good, so shall it be. But you can't have the mentality where you're playing, but if you do, it creates so many bad habits as far as winning and losing. Again, in Jazz basketball, once they re-signed Larry Marketing, they're saying philosophically and situationally that we'd like to be competitive this year. So far, they're not. 0-3, it's the worst start since the 2015 season. Again, OC, it is such a unbelievable small thread that the Jazz are trying to do. Now, with Hendricks being out, that will give more playing time probably to Cody Williams, because now they slide over Larry Marketing. I'll call him a stretch four. They'll play some Collins at 4/5, and then Williams will get a chance to play a lot more through his mistakes right now, and so will Bryce Sensabaugh. So when's the last time you were in a fight and you were fighting not to win?
Oh, well, when you put it that way, Gordy.
No, I mean, it's OC, I'm asking this question really, I don't want to exaggerate, 5 times a day from people on the street. People stop me, and it's just a fine line.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the thing about it. But Markkanen's there, and that guy is good right now. And with Cody Williams, I mentioned it because with Taylor Hendricks being out now, the focus now becomes a lot more Cody Williams and also Keontae George. So Williams right now is averaging 20 minutes a game, which is good. So that's going to increase right now. The bad problem is shooting 18.22% from the field, 18.2. And Keontae George, the future of the Jazz, is shooting right now from the field 27% and 23.8 from threes. He's 5 for 21. So those guys, they're getting playing time, but so far they've been misguided as far as shot selection. So much is shooting out of rhythm, and so you can't hurry your shots with that invisible fine line. Am I aggressive or what? Out of control. And so far, those guys, they're learning it, and it's painful in the meantime.
Gordy, it feels like Walker Kessler's playing his way to being a fan favorite. He does everything, the hustle work, the hard work, crashes the boards, blocks the shots. I don't know if he's ever going to be a huge offensive presence, but, he's a double-double machine right now in the early goings of this season.
Yeah, very much, absolutely. And he's playing much harder than he did previous year. So right now, like last night, 12 points, 11 rebounds, 2 blocks. He's third in the NBA right now in block shots per game at 2.7 behind Chet Holmgren, and number 2 is Brook Lopez. So he's doing what he does best, and that's block shots and control the lane right now. Now in his development, he has to develop old-school jump hook. It's simple. You make a 2-footed catch in the lane, your body's balanced, jump hook, either right hand or left hand, or against good defense, make a counter move, jump hook into what we call a step through. And so these are all basic fundamentals that I'm sure he knows, but he hasn't done it consistently live in a game in traffic with the element of the help defense lurking around you. So there's a maturation point right now. He's still learning, but I'm glad that the Jazz have him. Add to that, oh, by the way, his contract's relatively tame. So it's his third year of his career right now. The Jazz haven't given the extension yet. I'm sure they're going to wait and see how it plays out. But he's part of the Jazz future. It's hard to replace a guy that's 7 foot, that's agile, that wants to be here too.
Gordy, what's on the list today?
List today it's based on durability. So unfortunately, with Taylor Hendricks getting hurt last night, I thought about this list the day before. So it just played out this way. There's the all-time franchise leaders in regular season games played wearing a Utah Jazz uniform. So the 10 players in Jazz history of the most games played in a uniform. Number 10, Rudy Gobert, the Stifle Tower, played in Jazz basketball 611 games. Number 9, nickname was B. Russ. Brian Russell played in 628 games. Number 8, nickname D. Fave. He played in 644 games. Derek Favors. Number 7, the Russian Comet. Andrei Karolinko played in 681 games. Number 6, Greg Ostertag played in 700 games. Number 5, OC, our colleague, Big T, Thurl Bailey, played in 708 career games for the Jazz. Number 4, Dr. Duncanstein. Darrell Griffith played for the Jazz 765 games. Number 3, the late, great Mark Eaton played in 875 games. Number 2, Karl Malone played in 1,434 games. He only missed 13 games in 18 seasons wearing a Jazz uniform. And a quick side note, OC, the majority of missed games were from fighting suspensions. So you get in a fight the game before, spend it for a game or two, and he missed those games. And number 1, in Jazz history, with the most games played, John Stockton, 1,504 games. He missed 22 games in 19 years. He played 82 games in 16 seasons. He played all 50 games in the lockout year in 1999. Quickly, in the current tense, Jordan Clarkson is the Jazz leader presently in the most games played on the roster right now. This is his 6th season wearing a Jazz uniform. He's played in 308 Jazz games. And that's something at Jordan Clarkson. He was the 6th man of the year back in 2021. But how come it seems like a long time ago, OC, back in 2021?
It was only 3 years ago, and it feels like it was yesterday.
And it seems like it's an eternity. So that's why it's so important that Jazz keeps showing, the Jazz have progress, whether it's visually or whether it's emotionally or whether it's a won-and-loss record, that they keep fighting and battling. Tonight's game, Sacramento Kings, it should be a good battle. Kings played last night at home. They probably got to downtown Salt Lake City. They lose an hour in the air coming from the West Coast. They probably got there at 2:30 in the morning. So both teams will play with an element of tired legs. So in Jazz basketball, it's irrelevant. You have to knock them out.
Gordy, it's always a pleasure. Thank you for your time, sir.
Thanks. Peace out.
Gordy Chiesa, our resident NBA insider. And the hot lunch is coming next. We're talking dingers, baby. This is for you, Alonzo. Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700.
And the Dodgers are on the board first in Game 3.
that the voice of Joe Davis?
The Joe Davis.
The Joe Davis? Wow. Guy's really good at his job.
Yeah, he is.
Does a great job on football, does a great job on baseball. He took over for Vin Scully. To be the man that follows the man, yikes. That's tough.
And he's doing it.
He's done a great job.
And on the national side, he's done a great job too, not being biased at all. Some may say otherwise, though.
Well, let him say it. Big thanks to the Dodgers broadcast for that sound. All right. Our good friends at Farmer and Chemist have been hooking up our listeners repeatedly with the gift cards in our trivia section. Hopefully, if you've won one of those, you've gone down there, you've seen the location in historic Midvale, you've realized what a cool vibe it is down there. The aesthetics of the shop are wonderful, but the products in the shop are the more important even. And Jeff from Farmer and Chemist swings by to give us some insight. Hello, sir. Welcome back. How are you? Jeff, you got me?
Can you hear me?
Oh, there it is. All right.
Okay.
There we go. Sorry.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Great.
So I got this.
Nice snowy day.
Yeah.
Right.
It's Utah weather is back. It looks like we live in the mountains again.
Exactly.
So I got this question the other day, and I answered it correctly, but I wanted to pass it on to the listeners here. There are folks out there who are interested in the CBD products, but they don't want THC. They don't want to deal with the THC side effects, or they don't want to, if they have to do, testing for work or whatever, they don't want any THC in their system. And they're like, well, what do we do? And I said, go down to Farmer and Chemist, because there are many, many options. And I know that's true, but I wanted you to be the one who answers the question.
Yeah, that is 100% right. Medical cannabis has high quantities of THC. Actually, CBD is allowed to have less than what's called 0.3% content of THC. So THC actually has some values or some clinical benefit when it's added to some products, but there are reasons why you want to stay away from it. So the products that we have that have THC, they're low enough quantities that they don't cause the psychoactive side effects that come with THC. So there's value to it, but we get it. So if you're tested or have any other reasons, we do have products that don't have any THC. So we offer both. So a lot of our products have CBD and CBN and CBG for reasons we talked about, for targeting to pain, inflammation, sleep anxiety, those things. But we specifically have products that don't have any THC for those people who don't, again, for testing reasons or any other reason. So that's one of the reasons why we'd have people come in and talk to us, so we can talk through what the approaches are, the pros and cons, and find the right product for the right use. And
that's really the thing that separates Farmer and Chemist from a lot of the other places where you can get CBD products. It's pharmacist directed, right? It's a scientific approach to an industry that isn't always handled that way.
Absolutely. And dosing is super important too, because if you don't use the right dose, it's not going to work. And so people have tried things before, it hasn't worked, and that may be the reason. And so there are a lot of reasons why we feel like you should talk to a pharmacist. We want to be that resource. We do a lot of phone consultations. If you don't want to come into the store, we can do it via the phone. We want to be that trusted resource.
And there's a special discount for listeners to the Sean O'Connell Show, right?
Yes. If anyone mentions ESPN 700, either in person in the store or online, then we will take 20% off of any order.
If you're looking for the gummies with little THC, Yummy Gummies. If you're looking for something without THC, Gem Gems. But don't take my word for it. Head down there to Farmer and Chemist. We'll be giving away a gift card later today. Tell Jeff that I sent you. Thanks, Jeff.
Perfect. Thank you.
Farmer and Chemist, hooking the people up. All right, the hot lunch today provided by Jersey Mike's. We're going to do another sub in the tub. We're going to go turkey and avocado sub in the tub for the hot lunch today. All right, you good with that?
I'm good with that. It's a good one.
With the juice. All right, Mike's way. With the
Mike's
juice.
way. Okay.
I wanted to talk dingers. I want to talk home runs. Your Dodgers are riding some important and timely home runs to now a very healthy and comfortable position in the Fall Classic.
Yes. They, listen, for baseball, this is the matchup baseball wanted. I want the Yankees to win a game or two. But as a Dodger fan, they just got to win tonight, right? But Freddie Freeman is just locked in, and it's terrifying. And the crazy part is, my guy had like a football level ankle injury, should not be out there doing what he's doing, and he's just locked in. They're all locked in right now, if we're totally honest. Every single Dodger is.
So Freddie Freeman has now tied a World Series record by homering in 5 straight games.
Yes.
What?
Yeah.
And do you know? Okay, so right now there are 3 guys who have they all share a record in a single World Series
One of them has an asterisk next to his name.
for hitting the same number of home runs in a single World Series.
Yeah.
You know who these guys are, right?
Chase Utley,
Yes.
one. Mr. October, the OG October.
Yes, Reggie Jackson. Yes.
And then the asterisk guy is George Springer.
George Springer, Reggie Jackson, and Chase Utley all hit 5 home runs in a single World Series. George Springer had 29 total bases in a single World Series.
Problem is he knew what was coming. That's the only problem.
George Springer had the benefit of knowing the pitches that were coming because of garbage can coded messages.
Yeah, so that's why I tread lightly around that one, but that's insane company to be in World Series statistics. Did you see the statistic on Walker Buehler?
No.
So Walker Buehler, ERA wise, which is insane. Let me find it. I had it up here and I misplaced it because he's in an elite company himself. One day when I get my life together, I'll read this to you. You'll see. Oh, here we go. The lowest ERA for a starting pitcher in their World Series career, minimum of 15 innings pitched since 1912.
Wow.
Madison Bumgarner, 0.29. Jack Billingham, 0.48. Walker Buehler, 0.50.
Wow.
That's insane. They're locked. Like I texted you last night, they're locked in, and it's terrifying because baseball is already such a hard sport. And these dudes are just making it look easy.
Well, Freddie Freeman is in a really interesting situation right now because Freddie Freeman, like, I'm just assuming he's going to hit a home run every game of the series.
That's how it's looking.
That's how it's looking right now. So he probably wants it to go 5 games so he can get to this. He can at least tie Reggie Jackson, Chase Utley, and George Springer.
Or hear me out. Hit 2 bombs tonight.
Okay.
And then we kiboshed that.
All right. You could do that.
When you were watching it last night, I know we'll talk about this a little later, but when Fat Joe came out, how sad were you? No disrespect to Fat Joe. I love me some Fat Joe songs. But that, in my opinion, was not the move.
If LA is going to come out with Ice Cube, you, in response, as New York, has to.
That's understandable because it's Salt Lake City, but you're in New York.
You wheel out Dottie Osmond by then in a wheelchair. It's not going to be quite the same. But New York, you have options.
You have Jay-Z. You have
The problem
Nas.
is, you know what the problem? Here's my conspiracy theory for you, because it's becoming that kind of a day.
Yeah.
So many of those guys are caught up in all this Diddy business.
Yeah, you make a point.
That they're like, you know what? Thanks for the invitation.
I need to lay low.
I'm going to stay off camera for a little while.
Yeah, that's a good point. But I mean, there's still you're telling me you couldn't have made a phone call to Jadakiss? You couldn't have called the Wu-Tang Clan? Like, there's a lot of people you still could have called.
That would have been the move right there because
Wu-Tang.
Ice Cube by himself, incredible, but there's nothing like Wu-Tang Clan.
And then
the
you
whole
throw
crew.
the Chappelle Show meme, Wu-Tang. Wu-Tang.
All right, we got to take a break. That's the hot lunch. Dingers all over the place. Freddie Freeman on pace to potentially break a single World Series home run record. We'll see if he can get it done. Can the Dodgers pull off the sweep? Maybe. Michelle Bodkin's going to join us to start off hour number 2. We'll get into some of these conspiracy theories, these Utah fan conspiracy theories with Michelle Bodkin. She's very tied in. I want to know what she thinks about the idea, the theory, that Isaac Wilson leapfrogged some of his competition because of fear that he might transfer. I don't buy it. Does Michelle Bodkin? We'll find out next on the Sean O'Connell Show. All right, Tom Callahan, NHL Insider. He's going to just stop by in 20 minutes. Right now, we're going to talk with Michelle Bodkin, Utah Insider, friend of the program. Michelle, welcome. How are you?
Oh, pretty good. Just sitting and writing some thoughts on a rainy Tuesday.
All right, what thoughts are you writing right now?
You know what? I can't really reveal yet.
Not even an idea? We don't even get like a sneak preview, Michelle?
Let's just say I'm playing with some songs,
Okay.
and it has something to do with Utah football.
All right. We will look forward to that whenever you release it.
Yeah.
Okay, I have two burning questions for you.
Let's hear 'em.
Mekhi Bernard, post-game, said, I know what it is, but I can't talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
And the follow-up question, he kind of, nope, sorry, I can't do it. Do you have some idea of what he was thinking in his own mind?
You know what? I think it's a dangerous game to speculate what he knows or doesn't know. I would hate to put words in Mekhi's mouth that aren't there, because he and I haven't discussed it. And but I think the one thing that is certain, because we can all see it, it's very evident and visible on game days, is that there's something wrong. Now, is it in the locker room? Is it with the coaches? Is it something entirely else that we're not considering? Is it a mixture of all these things? You know, I don't know. Only the people inside that building know for sure. But the product on the field indicates there is some issue. And, you know, it's time's running out. They've been saying for weeks they know what it is and they'll figure it out, and we're working on it. And every week it feels like it looks more or less the same. Maybe I think this last go around was a little better, but I wouldn't say it was markedly better. And so now you're on a bye week. You're looking at a big challenge with a BYU team that has all the confidence in the world. And you got to figure something out. It's either figure something out or honestly own that you're packing it in for the year. Either or is fine, but I think it's time to just kind of be honest about whichever way it is that you're going to go with it.
Yeah, it's really interesting. When I heard you say you're packing it in for the year, I mean, that's not something a college football team is allowed to do. Like, this is not the NFL where you're tanking and you're hoping for a better draft pick. In a transfer portal era, it feels like you can't afford to do that. I don't disagree with your point. I think you're right, but I'm just looking at the reality of the situation. And if you're going to like roll over against a BYU team that it still has everything to play for, everything that you thought you would be playing for this year, which adds insult to the injury. I mean, it's just not a conversation I expected any of us would ever be having about Utah football under Kyle Whittingham.
Oh, certainly no, absolutely not. I mean, this is unprecedented, really. This is uncharted territory for this team. I mean, even when you look back at those 2 5-7 seasons when Utah joined the Pac-12, there was at least some fight in those teams. I feel like there was a little bit of pride in those teams. And I'm not saying that not everybody isn't showing that. I think Mekhi has absolutely shown that there's pride and a want to go out on top. Brent Keithy, some of these guys that have been around for a while. Dorian Singer has something to prove, because his time at USC didn't exactly go how we wanted after starting out really hot against Arizona. There's absolutely guys that are showing up week in and week out. The problem is it's not a collective effort. Not everybody's on the same page. And football is a sport. You can't win it when just a few guys decide to show up. It has to be an all-in effort or an all-out effort. And I feel like Utah's kind of been straddling that a little bit. I think there's guys that aren't totally bought in, and I understand it. There were big goals. There were big aspirations. There were big things this team was aiming for. I think guys signed on because it looked very, very possible that this team could absolutely do that. But the first sign of trouble, your starting quarterback goes out, your ultimate leader, Cam Rising, goes out, and it just feels like the attitude, the want to win kind of went out with it. So again, it's weird. I've never seen a Utah football team kind of wander around lost the way that these guys have, but that's where they're at now. And I think the transfer portal honestly makes it a little easier to act more like an NFL team where you decide you're either all in or you're all out. These guys don't have to stick around. And that portal is going to be opening up here within the next month. So it's just kind of a decision. Do you want to fix this or do you want out? But again, I think those are honest conversations that kind of have to be had in the building.
Michelle Bodkin, my guest here on the Sean O'Connell Show, Big 12 at noon, brought to you by Mountain Land Supply. Visit mountainlandsupply.com. So one of the, as we're talking about the transfer portal, there are plenty of people who voice their frustrations with how did we find ourselves here as a Utah football program that has been so good as of late. Why isn't there a better backup plan? Why isn't there a better contingency at the quarterback position with the whole Cam Rising situation with the injuries? And I try to be understanding of what a coaching staff realistically faces when you have a seventh-year incumbent starter who's a generationally great player for your program. Not a lot of people are going to sign up to play behind that guy when that's what transfer portal is for quarterbacks. It's a spot where you can go to hopefully get a start. And that conspiracy conversation comes in where, hey, you only gave Isaac Wilson the backup job because you're worried about, recruiting his teammates from high school, and you're worried about him transferring if he's not happy in the program. I'm not ready to say that I agree with any of that, Michelle. I don't feel like that's the way this coaching staff operates or has operated, at least since we've known them. What are your thoughts on the idea that Isaac Wilson is somewhat less deserving of that backup job than, maybe one of the other guys, but he was given that backup job because nobody wants to see him go anywhere in the transfer portal?
I mean, in this day and age, I think the rules have changed. And I think Utah is in a place where they're trying to figure out how they keep what makes them them, but also adapting to what the new rules of the game are. I don't know. I can't speak on, I don't know if Isaac Wilson has earned that job or not compared to the others. Obviously, we don't get to see anything. We hear some things. Nothing I've heard really kind of indicates that. But also when you're relying on just what you're being told, it can be spun, however makes it a more flattering situation. I kind of believe I've put a lot of thought into it. I really think probably one of the biggest issues for Utah is the system that Andy Ludwig has been running. It's a great don't get me wrong, it's a great system. It's a fun system when you have the pieces in place that can run it. When you have a Cam Rising, when you have a Tyler Huntley that has some experience under his belt, a Brian Johnson that, again, got to sit and kind of learn and observe and absorb before taking the reins and has the ability to do all the checkdowns and read the defense. It sucks when you're dealing with a guy that, maybe doesn't have quite the talent to be here, or a freshman or a transfer that's only had a couple of months. It's not a system that's terribly friendly toward that. So I think saying goodbye to Andy probably was a good call in that regard, but it doesn't change the fact that that's kind of what they're stuck with for this year. And also what they're stuck with is a freshman quarterback, a transfer and a guy that we don't necessarily know, is he having issues because he just doesn't belong at this level, or is he having issues because, again, Utah was opting to run a super complicated system that nobody really runs, including the NFL? It's a pro-style offense, and the pros are even moving away from doing that. They're moving more toward a spread. That's just what's on brand right now. So I think the biggest thing for Utah in the here and now is to kind of move towards what everybody else is doing and hope that you can have better luck plugging and playing people and keeping the ship afloat if things do go wrong, if your seventh-year starter ends up going out with an injury. I just don't think they did themselves any favors by not adapting in that way at the very least. And there could be other problems, but to me, that's the biggest, most glaring one that I can see at the moment.
I got to push back a little bit on the idea that Utah benefits from doing what everyone else in college football does, because especially on the offensive side of the ball, Utah is typically at a disadvantage with offensive talent. This is a defensive-minded coach that recruits elite defensive players, has a defensive development reputation. And, I mean, even in the best years of Utah football, Pac-12 championship years, you could make a case in both of the undefeated seasons, did that without nationally elite wide receivers, right? So trying to do what everyone else does offensively, I think puts you potentially at a disadvantage, because you're going to try to do what everyone else does, but without the same type of horses that everyone else has.
But hasn't Utah always built its brand on finding the guy that's under the radar, a David Reed, a Paris Warren, a Tim Patrick? Granted, his career was a little bit hampered here. I mean, they can find guys, and I'm not saying that they're necessarily going to be the top offense, but I think they can be a serviceable offense. Unfortunately, right now, what they're dealing with is they have all these guys, and it's not a serviceable offense because you have no one to run it. So
you're right. Yeah,
you're kind of damned if you do and damned if you don't, I think, here.
It's an interesting I think it's the perfect conversation to be having right now, because it's very reflective of the divide that is happening with the fan base. And I don't know this for sure, but I think there seems to be a divide, whether in the locker room or whether it's between coaches and players. It's clear that not everyone is on the same page, and this might be one of the reasons why. This might be the very reason why, because if you put too many eggs in one particular basket, and that basket clearly in these past couple of seasons has been the Cam Rising basket, this is what can happen. So I think it's a perfect conversation to be having right now, Michelle. Last thing before I let you go, we played a little fill-in-the-blank game today. The spark that Utah football needs will come from blank.
I'm going to say that core group of team captains. It has to come from those guys. Those guys have been here forever. Mekhi Bernard, Brant Keithy, Junior Tafuna, Kareni Reed. It means more to them. It's clear it means more to them. They have to figure out a way to get everybody else on board and united. I think that's the way forward. And to be honest, those guys are very capable of doing that. Those guys know what's up. Those guys know what it is to be in this program. They know what it means. But to me, it starts with them, and we'll see what happens from there.
Michelle, always great to hear from you. Thanks for your perspective.
Thank you for having me. I wish it was a happier conversation.
Yeah, we all do, but this is the reality right now. We'll look forward to the Utah football and also some songs involved. Whatever piece Michelle's working on, we look forward to it. Michelle Bodkin, Utah Football Insider, friend of the program. Brought to you by Mountain Land Supply at mountainlandsupply.com. All right, Tom Callahan, NHL Insider, joins us next. There's no way to sugarcoat it. The Utah Hockey Club collapsed in the late third period against the worst team in the NHL, and it happened last night. Maybe Tom has some answers. Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700. San Jose Sharks.
Your San Jose Sharks.
Formerly my San Jose Sharks, formerly my favorite team in the NHL. No longer the case, all right? I think the correct thing to do when your team gets an NHL hockey team is cast aside all previous allegiances and jump on board with the hometown fans. But that's just me. Doesn't have to be you. Anyway, here to talk about what was unfortunately an epic collapse down the stretch by Utah Hockey Club, ended up being a 5-4 overtime loss. Tom Callahan, NHL Insider, brought to you by Clearwater Distilling. Tom, welcome to the show. How are you?
You know what? I'm, I guess, recovering. I didn't quite make the same face I made when you hear about a broken leg and a dislocated ankle in the same injury update, but I made a face close to that as the third period was unfolding yesterday.
It was This is exactly how it unfolded in my house. I was watching the game on my app on the Utah Hockey Plus, and I'm trying to get my kids to bed, and my wife's just like, "Hey, will you put that thing down?" And I'm like, "Ah, yeah, okay, I'll put it down because they're gonna win." It was 4-1. I was like, "It's gonna be fine. San Jose can't come back from this. They stink." And then 5-4. Loss in overtime for the Utah Hockey Club. San Jose gets 3 goals in the third period, late in the third period, and then, of course, they score in overtime to win 5-4. What happened? How did it happen?
Well, I mean, to call it anything short of a collapse is just sugarcoating it. And look, every team has moments where they just forget what they're doing and where they are. That was one of them. And if it happens in the middle of a stretch while you're winning 7-10, you go, okay, clunker, we move on. But when it becomes your fourth loss in a row and that's how you lose, it takes on a different, I guess, just importance and a different perspective. What happened was Utah took its foot off the gas. They were not winning the battles late in the game. They were coasting. They looked like a team that thought they had it in the bag against a team that hadn't won yet all season. And it bit them. The Sharks bit them. And, I mean, they pulled the goalie with 5 minutes left. They have the extra man out there. Clearly, this team wants a win. They haven't won yet all season long. And I give the Sharks credit for not quitting. But Utah, if they're going to become a playoff team, among the things on my checklist for them is learn to put teams and games away. And they didn't do it.
Well, that's something that I guess you have to learn to do, right? And that was one of the things when the team moved from Arizona and we're starting to get to know what the possibilities are. That conversation went immediately toward, hey, can they make the playoffs this year? And there were personnel decisions made to bring in guys who have been there before, veterans who've won cups and veterans who've learned this already, learned how to win over a sustained period of time. Now, I'm not going to overreact to one particular collapse in an early regular season game, but these feel like the important moments in the development of a team that still does have a lot of young, inexperienced players on it, young, inexperienced talent on it. Isn't this why you brought in somebody like Mikhail Sergachev to keep the foot on the gas pedal to make sure that his shift mates are doing the same thing?
Well, you're hitting the nail on the head. I mean, Cole, Stanley Cup winner, Stenlund, Stanley Cup winner, Bortuzzo, Stanley Cup winner. You bring these guys in for that reason in a lot of cases, and, you rebuilt your defense. Now, look, they are missing 2 of their top 4D, but the line I like, and I've heard this a couple times, and I've settled on, I think it's my favorite way to express it, injuries can be a reason, but they're not an excuse. And I think right now Utah has to find ways to battle through these things. And when you have a team, you played almost 55 minutes of hockey, and you were up 4-1. You earned your way to 4-1. But to not close that out, I think, yes, absolutely, you are very much on the pulse of what the concern is right now. It is a team that is still coming together. There's a lot of new people getting used to one another, and it is early. I'm not throwing the baby out with the bathwater here, but again, we're in a stretch of 4 in a row where now twice in 3 games, head coach Andre Tourigny has had to come out and say, that's not who we are. That's not who we want to be. That's not how we want to play. Okay, well now who are you then? What is your identity? Who's your leadership group? Where's the heartbeat of this team? That's what I need to see. I need to see that going forward. Who's leading? Who's driving, the ship? And how are you going to come back from this?
You alluded to the injured defenseman. That caused Maverick Lamoureux to get recalled from the Roadrunners. And his first time on ice in a Utah Hockey Club uniform, I thought was a great night for him. How has he looked, I guess, in the last three periods?
You know what? It's helped him to be paired with Ian Cole, talking about one of those veteran defensemen they brought in. I think that Cole is a steadying presence. There are a couple of times where you've seen Lamoureux get caught out or a little out of position or maybe tries to make a play and it doesn't quite come to fruition. And Cole is smart enough, cagey veteran, right? It knows to cover, and most of the time it works out and it's okay. So Lamoureux, who they did really not want up here at this time and at this age, thrust into this role, but the injuries dictate it. He's learning on the job. He's learning the NHL pace. So he hasn't looked bad. I think he's going to be capable and he's going to be a very good NHL defenseman. He's just young and he's learning. But I'll tell you what I love about him. Absolutely love about him. This kid has never met a day in hockey that he doesn't like. It's unbelievable. He's just grinning the whole time, loves being a hockey player, loves the sport, loves the game, loves being around the rink. You need more of that. I wish every team had 12 of those guys or 18 of those guys because it makes a difference. So I hope he does not lose that.
Tom Callahan, NHL insider, Utah Hockey Club insider, my guest here on the Sean O'Connell Show, talking about a very unfortunate collapse by the Utah Hockey Club against the lowly San Jose Sharks. We have agreed we're not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. This does drop the team to 4-4-2. So, the bounce back, the recovery, hey, what's next? What does that have to look like for this club?
Well, it's not going to get too easy here according to the schedule. They are in a situation here where unfortunately they did not make hay while the sun was shining at home. And that's, kind of unfortunate for them. Now they do have the game coming up against the Flames here Wednesday, but Calgary is off to a better than expected start. So that's not going to be an easy one. Then you're going up against one of the best teams in the NHL, the Winnipeg Jets, and a team that you're battling in the playoffs in the St. Louis Blues, and you got Vegas and you got Nashville. All those teams are as good or better than you, and it's a rough stretch now. And those 4 games from Vegas to Nashville are on the road. So this is a critical stretch for this team. This is going to be a character-building stretch right here for these guys. And, again, you ask what they need to do. I think they, first of all, need to establish just working for 60 minutes. Even if they lose, but you see 60 minutes of effort, every shift they're out there trying to make a play, they're trying to win the battles. They are physically giving that effort for 60 minutes, and they're engaged the whole game. That's step number 1. Step number 2, which they actually started to do against the Sharks, I've been talking about this for weeks, get pucks to the net, get bodies to the net. Well, what happens when Cole got 2 shots through, they were stopped, but Matias Michelli scores twice on a rebound, and then Sergachev scores just by the puck going through. It had eyes. It found the net. I love that, and I want to see more of that. But now they need to just do it on a consistent basis.
Dylan Guenther started the season off with that blistering pace, which was five goals in 3 games. Then he cooled off for a little while, got one again. What is he going to be over the course of a full season, you think, in terms of the goal scoring? Right now, he's your leader. Is that realistic to expect from him through the life of a whole season?
I don't think so. He got off to a great start. Signed the contract, was absolutely on fire. The first couple of games of the season, everything he touched was going in. Looked like a brilliant signing. But then I think it was 6 games until last night where he didn't have a point. So he kind of went cold after that. Now he's picking it up. Again, he got a goal in the game against the Sharks, which is encouraging. But he's still a young player. He's going to be up and down. I still think you're looking at the veterans on this team are going to be the guys who are leading it at the end of the day when it comes to, the actual points. And what you get from him is going to be inconsistent, but you will see flashes of the brilliance that as he gets more comfortable in his role and as he grows and just becomes more of a veteran player, a smarter player, you're going to see him make a more consistent impact. But from a lot of the young players right now, I mean, I hate to say it, but that's what we're seeing is that inconsistency up and down the lineup for these guys.
Is this team undersized, especially with the injuries?
I don't think they're undersized. I feel like the size is fine. The physical play is just not there like you think it would be with the size. So I understand why you're asking that question. That is exactly what I ask myself when I watch them play, because the mold that they're supposed to be built in is big, physical, able to knock other teams around, win those battles with strength and aggression, and that's how they're built. They draft big. They want to stay big. And when you don't play that way, you have the size, but you don't use it, I mean, you're wasting it. And, Utah, again, I know there's injuries on the blue line. And, again, 2 of your top 4 defensemen, that is a big deal. But I just feel like there's more to this team. And that's why I think I'm a little disappointed with the last 4 games, and I'm sure folks inside the UHC organization are too, because you expect more out of what you have, and it just hasn't been there yet for whatever reason. So it's really time for them to look in the mirror and say, I need to engage and give this my fullest. Otherwise, I mean, I never plugged them in for the playoffs this year, but it doesn't mean that they couldn't take a run at it. And right now they're losing the ground that they would need to be in that contention area come the spring.
As we look at not only the short-term schedule, long-term schedule as well, you already mentioned, Winnipeg is playing really, really well. Has anyone surprised you, especially in the division or in the West, that you think that, this team may be somebody we need to watch as a future problem for the Utah Hockey Club?
The West and a lot of the NHL has been a little strange to start this year. Winnipeg has gotten off to a great start, and I was pumping their tires in the preseason, but maybe teams that have surprised me a little so far, Minnesota and St. Louis, both being ahead of Colorado and Nashville. Those are surprises. Looks like the Preds might be figuring it out a little bit, and I think the Avalanche are definitely figuring it out. So I look for that situation to flip-flop soon. But again, that means Utah Hockey Club has to be in front of St. Louis and Minnesota to be in the contention for a wild card spot. So Vegas is still good. LA is finding ways to win games. Vancouver's good. Calgary is the other surprise for me in a good way. And I still don't know what's going on with the Edmonton Oilers. They just can't seem to keep the puck out of their net right now. So they need to right the ship relatively soon, but they have plenty of talent.
All right, last thing before I let you go. Ingram was on point. He looked great last night, and then of course everything falls apart, not only for the defense in front of him, but for him in particular. He's been asked to do a lot as the injuries pile up, and the bodies that were brought in to kind of keep traffic away from the crease. Those guys go down. How sustainable is the pace that we expect from him early in the season, or are we going to get more of what we saw last night, where he just can't hold up for 60 full minutes?
Well, I think there's been a tendency a little bit to pile on Connor Ingram. His numbers aren't great right now. He did start well, but so did the team. But the defensive flaws have been there, and they were there last year too when they had 6 healthy defensemen. So this is not new. They knew it was a problem. They tried to address it in the offseason, and then you get the injuries. They're still giving up a lot of shots. They're still giving up high danger chances. And his numbers are going to improve when those second and third chances are cleaned up by the defense or just not allowed in the first place. If they're, taken care of, if they're blocking shots, if they're not getting through in the first place, or if they're doing a good job tying up the man in front, not allowing them those second and third opportunities, that's when Connor Ingram is going to look a lot better. Even with the loss last night, I don't really feel like I can point the finger at Ingram on that one. He's, for the most part, been doing his job. And again, I know his numbers aren't great, but this is more of a team defensive issue than it is a goaltending issue at this point anyway.
Tom, appreciate your perspective on all this stuff, and hopefully no more collapses like this as we continue to watch this Utah Hockey Club closely. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
Tom Callahan, one of our NHL insiders, brought to you by Clearwater Distilling. Great stuff from Tom. Dyed in the wool, full-on hockey insider and expert. We need those as we're all coming up to speed on NHL hockey.
Wait, so did I hear right? You went to go sit the little one down. They were up 4-1, and you're like, we'll be okay. And then
that really happened. No, so like when you're putting 3 kids to bed, baby goes down first, and then the 2 older ones. You got to read books, and you got to make sure they got the right stuffed animals. I love the bedtime ritual so much. It's like an important bonding time with the kids. I love it, right? And so, yeah, I was like, whatever. I don't want to be, and this is something you got to help me with. I don't want to be a slave to the screens because it's such a habit to just like pick it up or whatever. But I was watching the game. I was just streaming it on the UHC Plus. I'm watching it. I'm washing dishes, doing that thing. Okay, now it's time to put the kids to bed. So my wife's like, all right, just like put them to bed, and then you can finish watching the game. And I was like, it's fine. 4-1, middle of the 3rd period. We're good.
It's over.
So I put it down. And I was like, give myself a little pat on the back I put it down, focus on the stuff that's important. And then I do my own thing. I take a shower. I get in bed, and I'm like, oh, yeah, let's see how it finished. Is there a glitch on this app? 5-4 overtime Sharks? I was like, what the hell happened? So, of course, you can fire it up, and you can just scroll back a little bit. And I was like, well, I've watched 2 in a row in like 2 and 3 minutes for the Sharks. I'm like, I don't want to watch the rest. This is ugly. This sucks.
Yeah. And then here we are.
Yeah, here you are. And look, the growing pains, something you can expect. I'll tell you why it's been problematic for me. Because expectations for the Utes in football, not met. That stinks. The Jazz, I have very low expectations for. So I was like, whatever happens with them, it's going to just be interesting to watch. I showed up for the first game at the Delta Center, and then I watched when they were on the road, and I watched them go beat the Rangers. And I was just like, oh, my gosh, this hockey club team, they are better than anyone gave them credit for. This is a playoff team this year. Hell yeah, let's go.
I was even fired up about that because we were in Arizona and we were talking about it. I was like, they beat the Rangers.
I was like, this is cool. Like,
okay,
Rangers are top 4 team in the East. Like, all right, this is going to be awesome. And then, it's come back down to earth a little bit. So that's all. There's nothing that can't be fixed. There's nothing that can't be explained with this Utah Hockey Club. That makes sense. So we're fine there.
It's other things that
the other stuff that we're trying to make sense of, a mystery, a poison in the Utah football culture is harder to get your mind around than a team full of young guys who are just now in a new community who have 2 of their 4 most important defensive players injured and out for a prolonged period of time. It's like, okay, yeah, that's going to affect your bottom line, so to speak.
I mean, where I'm at even is maybe we call some ghost harassers. That's what I call ghost investigators. And they come and find if there's like some sort of a negative, juju on this program.
Hey, this time of year, I am a baby when it comes to the spooky stuff. I don't watch horror movies.
Yeah.
I don't do any of that. But when you stumble across like the History Channel or the Travel Channel or one of those Discovery that has the paranormal investigators, I'm stuck, man. You better believe I'm watching.
They get you.
They get me.
And whereas at our house, it's a little opposite. Like we'll fall asleep to, Hellraiser.
No. What?
Paranormal. Seriously.
I don't like
That's
that.
the white noise in our house sometimes during this time of the year.
It's not white noise. That's like bloody purple phantom black and color of the abyss noise.
Like my wife decided because Halloween's her favorite holiday. So she will watch a horror movie a day every day during the month of October.
So I've told you this before, but there's a new horror movie coming out starring Hugh Grant called Heretic. Have you seen this?
I've not seen it, but I've heard of it.
It's not out yet. I think it comes out next week, but there's and it features, like, part of the plot line is that 2 sister missionaries show up at his house and then it goes south from there. And I will not watch it but I will read the plot synopsis and be too scared by that. That's what happens with these new. A24 is the movie studio that makes a lot of these really scary ones.
Like I think they made Barbarian. I watched that.
I think they made Barbarian. I think they made Hereditary.
Yeah, Hereditary.
They make really scary stuff. I don't watch them, but I do read the plot synopsis to see how terrifying it is.
You should watch. Me and my wife just watched the other night. It's not bloody, gory, any of that stuff. It's called Trap. Has Josh Hartnett in it.
Oh, he's a serial killer, right?
He's a serial killer.
Okay.
And
it's more of a thriller.
It's more of okay. It's by M. Night Shyamalan.
Yeah, I can watch that.
So I would suggest that because then you won't be a weenie about it.
Okay, I'll watch that.
But yeah, my wife watched all of the Saw movies, which, by the way, I did not realize how many Saw movies there were.
The first one was very clever and very scary.
Yeah.
And in the second one, they had the lady that falls into the pit of needles.
Yes.
You lost me there. That's my number one phobia.
It was over.
Needles are my number one phobia. Can't have that. I'm out.
I hate needles too, but I mean, for me, it was just like, okay, why does it have to be so bloody? Like this, there's no need for this. Like, I get what you're doing, but we don't got to be loud about it.
This time of year, every year, there's a movie that comes out, and people, like the previews, they proudly will just be like, folks were throwing up in the theater for this one.
Yeah.
There's a new, there's one of those franchises is this clown movie, Terrifier or something.
Oh, yeah.
The newest one, apparently the director took like the unrated, the NC-17, the whatever, whatever the thing above R is, instead of cutting out this opening sequence that was just like apparently unwatchable.
Oh yeah, my wife told me about that sequence. It's gnarly.
He decided that he was going to take the rating that like is above R, is like unconscionable, you shouldn't watch this, which usually compromises commercial success.
Right.
And because of how social media works these days, and because he's already established these Terrifier movies as a brand people like, it is now the most successful movie that is above or below, however you characterize that, the R rating. It's already made like $50 million.
Yeah,
this scary clown movie.
Yeah, my wife was watching those movies, and she was telling me kind of what was happening. Like, I don't need to watch it.
No, I'm out on all horror, man. Thrillers I can do, but maybe we got to come up with like a segment where we read movie synopsis or something.
It's not a bad idea because, as you know, I'm not a huge movie buff, which I know throws some people, my wife included. Like when we watched Mean Girls for the first time during the pandemic, she's like, "Wait, you've really never seen this before?" It's like, no, this is legitimately the first time I've watched it. So I mean, that's what we did during the pandemic is watch movies I've never seen before since we're all inside.
It's easy to do.
But I like that idea. Synopsises of movies that Sean O'Connell hates.
That I just cannot watch. That I will not watch.
The hamster wheel spinning.
We'll figure out a way to make that part of the show to bore people to death.
Yes.
All right. That'll be great. Look outside the window right now. This is fine fall weather, madam. This is what it looks like at the end of October in the state of Utah. That means the roads are going to get a little bit slicker. You're going to have a little bit of ice sometimes. There's maybe mud somewhere around your house. The reason I bring all these things up, it's now more important to have four-wheel drive. If you're looking for a stripped-down, utilitarian, actually functional off-road vehicle, the Ineos Grenadier is what you're looking for. Warner Ineos Grenadier, that's the dealership, 2400 South, 5600 West in West Valley. They've got every model. They've got all the colors. They've got the full selection. They'll let you take a prolonged test drive. You can take it overnight. You can take it up in the mountains. Tell them OC sent you and that you are serious about getting a highly capable off-road SUV that also has the styling and the convenience of being a great walk-around town city-type vehicle. It really is the best of both worlds. It is over-engineered for just the highways, though, so you need to test this bad boy out. Flex it just a little bit. Get out there on some slippery rock or something. Ineos Grenadier, a beautiful machine, but really how it operates is what's going to make you fall in love with it. WarnerIneosGrenadier.com. All right, Jeff Schwartz is going to join us. We'll take a long break here. Jeff Schwartz on the other side to talk NFL football, to talk, again, his Oregon Ducks, number one ranked in the country. I'll give him like 12 seconds to talk about that. And maybe he has some ideas outside looking in of just what has happened with this Utah football program. It's the Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700.
Pressure, passes high, and intercepted by Beanie Bishop.
Monday Night Football highlight courtesy of our friends over at ESPN. Sean O'Connell Show on your home of the Utes, ESPN 700. My good friend Jeff Schwartz stops by on Tuesdays to recap the weekend that was in college football and in the NFL. He joins us now. Jeff, how are you?
I am good. Did you see my tweet about a high-level performance in a championship atmosphere?
I did not see this.
Oh. I tried to find your fight highlights. I found the best one I could and tagged it in there. So congratulations.
Wait, is there actually any good fight highlight?
It says Sean O'Connell PFL highlight reel. I was on the radio. I didn't even look if it was any good.
Oh no!
I just put it on here.
No.
It has a 363,000 views.
Hey, cool.
It's 5. Oh, it says here. Ready? You love reading scouting reports. So this is it. Ready? Thought of as little more than a journeyman when he threw his hat in the Professional Fighters League. The real OC, Sean O'Connell, earned his shot at $1 million on December 31st.
Wow. That's fine. It's fairly accurate. Journeyman.
I mean, anyway. What's mine again? A massive human who can't move very well.
Massive human who can't move very well. Has a chance to be a practice squad player.
Yeah.
Nailed
that.
Those scouting reports are the best to read.
Yeah.
Sometimes. Anyway,
how are you, buddy?
Good.
How's life?
You?
I'm good. Yeah, just it's just crazy. Like college football's already week 9 already.
It's so wild how fast it goes.
Yeah, but NFL still has half a season and an entire 5 weeks of playoffs. It's crazy that how different the schedules are for both of those sports.
Well, what's actually really fascinating is we say we're already in week 9 of college football. For teams that have playoff and national championship aspirations, they still have almost half a season to go. If they don't get the bye week, especially if they don't win a conference championship and get the bye, I mean, some of these teams, it's going to take 16 games to get a national championship.
I'll tell you what, it feels very NFL-ish when you're rooting. Obviously, my team's doing well right now. And, for so many years, we talked about things like style points, right? Style points. We talked about things that, didn't really maybe matter to winning and losing. Strength of schedule. And now it's just just win your game. Just win your game. It's the way I feel about the NFL, right? Just win your game. Who cares about how many points you win? Doesn't matter. Just win your game because the wins count toward making the playoff. And now I certainly feel that way about college football where, I mean, I guess if you're trying to be the 11 seed, 12 seed, you might not need some style points. But Oregon goes to Michigan this weekend. Just win by one, man. Just win by one. It doesn't matter. You don't need style points. So it certainly is different than in years past in college football where style points were always needed.
All right, so we're going to start talking about Utah, who fell to 4-4, 4 losses in a row. This one on the road to the lowly Houston Cougars. After Andy Ludwig resigned, there was hope, slim hope that, something new, a different voice, whatever, would spark the offense. Did not happen. Defense had a strong performance for most of the game, a couple of goal line stops, but ended up giving up over 200 yards of rushing to Houston in what ultimately was a losing effort for this Utah football program. And now it's officially full panic mode for most people around here. You are always great to ask these things because you take the clinical approach and the high altitude view of a situation like this. Jeff, what the hell's happening with Utah football?
So I've sort of been on this idea for a little bit of time when it comes to the NFL, and I think it applies to Utah specifically on offense. So, a lot of the success of teams sometimes we trace back to the confidence that you believe you're going to win, right, Sean? And the Browns are a great example of this in the NFL. For those who might not be paying attention too much to the NFL as I do, the Browns had the worst quarterback in the NFL for in the last 20. Deshaun Watson was very bad. They have a good team around Deshaun Watson though, but Deshaun Watson was bad, and so sort of the entire week of preparation heading into a game, You know your quarterback stinks, right, Sean? And the defense knows he stinks. And I feel like you don't practice very confidently. And then when things go poorly in a game, and I'm not accusing players of not playing hard or not trying to win the game, but in your mind you're like, oh, here we go again. Here we go, Sean. The bad things are happening to us again. And I feel like that's sometimes what happens with young quarterbacks, right? Who you're playing a true freshman right now. Nebraska, by the way, is going through the same thing on offense, especially on offense. Whereas the more games happen, the less good the offense is. And then I just think it affects the whole team because you're not a confident team because one side of the ball doesn't think they can do their job as well. And then the other side of the ball, and you mentioned the defense played fine, but you just start to kind of question the other side of the ball, Sean. So to me, it's a confidence thing more than like we stink, if that makes sense. Now, you're not winning games, so obviously you are what your record says you are. But does that make a little bit of sense? Like it's just like it's not a confident looking team right now, and that really has not been the case for Kyle Whittingham teams over the years.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I think you're hitting the nail on the head because I remember watching this team in good years and even being part of that Fiesta Bowl team. When bad things happened in a game, it doesn't affect the sideline. It doesn't affect the players on the field. It doesn't affect the coaches. Nobody panics, and it's just like, oh, dang it. Look what happened there. But there's that confidence that it's going to be all right because, you've prepared for this in practice, because you're a good team, because in the case of that Fiesta Bowl year, because you have Alex Smith at the quarterback position.
Correct. Yes.
It's just like, oh, yeah, don't worry about it. Something is going to erase this. And I think that's the swagger the team had when they had Cam Rising and when they had guys like Cole Bishop playing defense, and it's gone.
The thing about the confidence is so important, I think, that especially that quarterback position, because you mentioned it, and I think this is really what it comes down to. And I've been in this spot before. I'm sure you have, where you played with someone who you didn't think was any good at quarterback. But the idea that the quarterback can sort of make you right at any time, where you could play poorly everywhere, defense, offensive line, running back, wide receiver, and all it does is takes one play from your quarterback and you're back in it, and that allows the defense to play a little bit more free, right, Sean? It allows the special teams to play a little bit more free. It just allows the whole team to play a little more free. And when it's not like that, then I think everyone's tense. Everyone's worried about making mistakes. Everyone doesn't play as fast, and they just play worse football. It's like that simple. So I think Utah's off this weekend, right? So you have to spend this bye week, to me, trying to just sort of get back to a more confident offense.
That's the hope. Jeff Schwartz, my guest here on the Sean O'Connell Show, talking about Utah football, and we'll switch things to the national perspective in college football. I saw a really wild scenario, and then I went down the rabbit hole, and I guess it is still mathematically a possibility. It's not all that likely, but it could happen, where Oregon, right now the number one team in the country, could win out, still be the number one team in the country, and if Penn State and Indiana both win out also, Oregon could not – they could miss the Big Ten championship game and then obviously have no chance to get the first-round bye. Again, it doesn't seem like it's going to play out that way because you would need either Penn State or Indiana's remaining opponents to all have kind of epic collapses because the tiebreaker comes down to strength of schedule and how good were those teams, how good were their combined records. But what a convoluted and wild scenario that is, at least at this moment, feasible.
Well, when you have 18 teams in a league, I mean, that's sort of, it's going to be convoluted like that. They don't play each other. That would also mean that Ohio State loses to both Indiana and Penn State in the next basically 2 weeks. Yeah, look, it definitely doesn't feel ideal to be in that situation, Sean. I'll tell you what, man. We spent years talking about conference realignment, and I don't know how you feel this year about Big 12 games. You've also been, a program that's been more of a nomad, right? Like you went Mountain West, and then you went, to the Pac-12. So you sort of felt this before, but I feel nothing when Oregon plays a Big 10 team, buddy.
Yes, it's not better. It's not an improvement for college sports in any way.
Like we beat Illinois, and I was like, all right, cool. Like you beat Cal in the same way, a ranked Cal. You're like, heck yeah! Like there's a shared history there. You're battling for the same players in recruiting. You have the same coaches are coaching on one side and switch to the other side. I felt nothing beating Illinois.
Yeah,
and it really stinks. Now I will say, playing Michigan this weekend, it's Michigan. It doesn't matter how good they are. Like I'll feel something about that, but we got Maryland the next weekend afterwards. Who cares, bro? Who cares about playing Maryland at home? Like the student section was barely full against Illinois. Like they don't even care. No one cares about playing Maryland in 2 weeks. It's bad.
Obviously, when you're talking about Oregon, Maryland, and Oregon, Illinois, like there's not going to be any of that. I thought that maybe when it was like Texas, Georgia or something, I'd be like, okay, here we go. But even that, I'm just like, no, these are not the games. These are not the games we care about. Now, we here in the state, we get one that we've cared about for a long time. We get the Holy War coming after the bye week for Utah and for BYU. So that's great. That's fun. But the rest of these Big 12 matchups, they now lack the juice that it took some time to develop, admittedly, because of the nomadic nature you all just referenced. It took time to develop some juice in Utah versus USC and in Utah versus Stanford and in Utah versus Oregon. That wasn't sexy or fun for Oregon fans when Utah was brand new to the Pac-12. It ended up being something. So I guess we have to give it a chance in the newly aligned college football landscape, but I'm not even confident it's going to stay aligned this way for long enough for us to care.
Is BYU for real? Like, what's their deal?
BYU is a team that its floor is way, way, way higher than anyone thought. There's no bad players. There's no liabilities in the starting lineup on either offense or defense.
Offense, yeah.
Offense. On offense or defense, they don't have glaring weaknesses, and everybody plays their ass off. Everyone plays hard. It's the antithesis of what you're seeing from Florida State and what you're seeing from Utah these last 4 weeks is guys get right because they play hard. Guys do things because they play hard. Good things happen because the quarterback gets hit, and even as he's releasing the ball, his arm goes on the wrong angle, and they've got to pick in every single game because of effort. It's absolutely wild how much of this can be explained by just they play incredibly hard.
I mean, they're probably – I don't want to jinx the Utah game. I mean, that's going to be a tough game, I think, no matter what, because it's a rivalry game and you're off a bye. But, I mean, there's a chance that they're undefeated heading the Big 12 championship game, right?
Yeah, they're going to be favored in all of these games moving forward, I think. It's feasible that BYU, if they play this way, if they continue to play the way they have, and Jake Retzlaff, who I know you're a big fan of, he doesn't make mistakes that he made last year, which he seems to have kind of shaken that off, then I don't see why they wouldn't be either a one-loss or undefeated team moving forward.
Wow, who would have thought?
Nobody would have thought. Even BYU's most ardent fans didn't think this. I said this on the show yesterday, Jeff. I ran into the offensive coordinator at the park this summer because he's got a son about the same age as my oldest daughter. And I ran into him at the park. He still lives up in Salt Lake City. And we were talking, and he was on the staff when I was at Utah, so I know him pretty well. Yeah. And we were talking, and I was like, how are you guys? What do you think? And he was the only one that I spoke to, even other insiders down there at BYU, GAs, whatever. He's the only one who had this kind of an expectation for BYU. He was like, people have no idea how good this team can be. He's like, we are going to be so talented. And you know what? His playmakers have emerged. His running back room is incredibly deep, and his quarterback is not a liability in the same way that he was last year, and that has solved all the problems for BYU offensively. Yeah,
I mean, the Big 12 is – they put out that tweet, right? The Big 12 kind of the media poll for the top is basically the bottom, and vice versa, where the bottom is the top. The Big 12, we talked about – this kind of season we thought could be the most fun conference. I think it certainly is the most fun conference. I mean, there's even Colorado. I mean, Colorado's still in this to be it would take a lot for them to end up in the Big 12 championship game, but it's not a no. They're not out of it, which is kind of wild.
Jeff Schwartz for another couple minutes here on the Sean O'Connell Show. Let's talk some NFL football. I don't care about the Colts very much. Joe Flacco is going to be starting moving forward. How much of this is because Anthony Richardson tapped his helmet and left the game voluntarily?
How crazy was that? I was watching this game live. I've never seen a quarterback tap out of a game like that. Like the quarterback, for those who might not have seen it, like Anthony Richardson, look, he was running for his life. I will not disagree there. He was running he was getting hit. He sort of took a shot to the legs as he was running. It was 3rd and long, and he just tapped his helmet like he was a wide receiver and has to come out.
Yeah, I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah, I didn't know you could do that either. It's a bad look for a quarterback that's not established because A, it looks like you're out of shape, which of course you never want to be in. And he was hurt at times this season, but just you're like the leader of the offense, and you can't even you're out of the game because you're tired in a game that was close. And I get it was 3rd and long. I don't think him being benched had much to do with this, Sean. The Colts are in a spot that is really tough in the NFL, where you have to determine, is the end goal progress with our young quarterback or the end goal making the playoffs? Sometimes those two things are not the same, right? There are certain teams like the Commanders, obviously, who can do both at the same time. But Richardson's the thing that the knock on him, Sean, was that he didn't have any reps in college, right? He started 12 games in college.
Right.
And that was a knock, is that he didn't have a lot of reps in college. He's only started 9 games in the NFL. Like he was hurt last season after the 5 games, and he started this year and then got hurt again. You don't even know what you have in him. He hasn't played any football. And you deciding to bench him, so basically you're saying that he's done it for the season, to me shows that he's just not your long-term solution at quarterback. Like you've determined already he's not your guy, which to me is a very early determination on a quarterback you drafted specifically as a project. This is not news. Everyone knew what he was coming out of college. It just feels like they're giving up on him now, which again, it's their choice to do so, Sean. I'm not saying they can't do this, but you're telling everyone that he's not your guy, which is fine. But you're just admitting like, yeah, we failed on this draft pick, and it does feel early to do that, but they want to make the playoffs, which again, making the playoffs does nothing for the future for them. Like Joe Flacco's not the future of your franchise. So going to him, to Richardson, to Flacco in the situation doesn't get you any closer to your ultimate goal, which is finding a franchise quarterback and winning a Super Bowl.
You've been in film rooms, NFL film rooms. What was it like for 29 on the Bears?
Oh, buddy.
after he was playing to the crowd, celebrating while the Commanders are running the Hail Mary play. And then, of course, he's the one who ended up tipping it to the receiver who caught it.
And I'm fairly certain he said his assignment was to actually box out 85 who caught the pass. He said like that was his actual assignment on the play. Oh, dude, it's so embarrassing. I mean, look, we once had a player with the Chiefs who was a young offensive lineman who got hurt and was sort of playing through an injury, and he had a really bad play. And our coach said to him, our offensive line coach said, very calm voice, just said this, said, hey, the NFL is not going to forget this play. And we just moved on to the next play. And we were like, our offensive line coach never yelled or screamed at us. Like that's a pretty harsh thing to say to someone. They won't forget this play. It feels like no one's going to forget he did this the rest of his career. It's a bad look. But I like the Bears' commitment to doing dumb things like they gave. And look, I love offensive linemen, of course, but they gave that ball to that backup center on the 1 yard line who promptly fumbled. I mean, what a comedy of errors in that game. Oh man. But yeah, Stevenson's it's gonna be bad, but he's tied to this the rest of his career, whether he likes it or not.
Yeah. Unfortunate. Comical, but unfortunate for the player. Are the Vikings coming back down to earth, or is this just a blip on the radar?
Probably come back down to earth a little bit. Plus the Lions are really good. I think they're going to the Super Bowl, in my opinion, from the NFC. The Darnold. This is why Darnold, by the way, is a backup. Like it lasts for a little bit of time, typically with these backup quarterbacks, and eventually you sort of get figured out. The first month of this sort of NFL trends, Sean, go in cycles, right? where you have like 4-week cycles where something pops up in the NFL, and then it takes about 4 weeks for the NFL to adjust to something new. Well, as soon as sort of the 5-week mark hit, guess what? The Vikings offense wasn't as good. The Vikings defense wasn't as good anymore. Like, that's the sort of the NFL cycle. So now it's up to the Vikings head coaching staff, their play callers, the guys on defense to come up with new things, right? Like, because you don't have to reinvent who you are. That's the NFL cycle. And so, look, they're plenty talented. They got good offensive line, good running backs, good wide receivers, defense, but they got to figure out sort of the best way to put it is like something new.
So you've adjusted your Super Bowl expectation in the NFC to be the Lions, Kansas City.
I picked Lions Chiefs to start the season, buddy.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, I just because I know you like the Niners, I didn't want to like.
You know what's funny about the Niners? Like, I'm still a skeptic right now because they've got some issues. Apparently, Christian McCaffrey is on pace to make his return. He hasn't had any setbacks, whatever that means.
Yeah.
So that's good news. But it's wild that beating the Cowboys just makes everything like feel a lot better.
It's like beating USC.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how good USC is. You just want to beat USC.
That's right. I don't think the Cowboys are going to be a factor, but it's like, guys, as long as you beat them, I'll deal with whatever other issues you're handling right now internally for the San Francisco 49ers.
I also think for the Niners, you're heading into your bye week and you just want to feel good. I think like it wouldn't matter who you beat, but you beat someone, and I know it was closer at the end of the game, but you fairly dominated that game. Like, you needed a good win and you're buying that division right now. I don't trust Seattle. I don't trust the Cardinals. Like, you still have a great shot to win the division.
A lot of college players don't know what it's like to have two buys, and this is a scheduling thing that has happened this year. Obviously, in the NFL, that's something you dealt with. What's the second bye week?
Well, we never got two buys. We got the Thursday night game, so we had like a weekend off.
Okay. So like a mini
it's
bye.
different for everyone. It makes the season much longer. I guess it's just I would imagine just get your body right. Now, some teams are having the buys like too soon, in my opinion. When was your last? Too close together. When was your first bye?
So Utah and BYU had their bye weeks match up, both of them this year. So it was week 5 you play, and then week 6 was a bye, right? And so 3 weeks ago was it was bye
that's too
week,
soon.
Bye, then 3 games, then another bye, and then you finish it out with 4 games.
See, Oregon had bye week 4, and then we have a bye before the last game of the season. That's like perfect.
That's somebody was doing Dan Lanning some favors there, scheduling that one. Conspiracy.
Yeah, so that to me is great. Like, we got a bye before Washington Thanksgiving weekend, so I'd gladly take that for the team. One thing about this conference realignment that makes it so interesting this year, just I think in general for the future, is because there's so many teams. Like some of these teams, Sean, have legitimately like easy schedules. They're not playing anybody. And it's just a product of you can only play so many teams, and schedules can really make a season. Look at Indiana, man. They've been good, but they haven't played a team with an offense, I think, SP plus higher than or lower than 60. Like, these teams can go through the entire schedules and play no one good, because that's just sort of what the conference is now. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's a really interesting byproduct of the whole conference realignment thing. But here we are. That's what college football is, at least for now. We'll see how it changes things moving forward. Last thing before I let you go, you keep bringing it up. No one is talking about Colorado when they're actually good. Everyone talked about them so much last year when they were terrible.
I know.
They're good. Colorado fatigue is the Deion tax in reversed.
Yes, I think so. Don't you?
I do.
Yeah. They're look. They benefit a little bit from the schedule talk that we talked about. It is interesting though. They're a really good example of a butterfly effect with one result in a game. Because they should have lost to Baylor, right? They had a Hail Mary there at the end to tie the game, then went to overtime. And Baylor was about to tie the game, and Travis Hunter made a great play, and Baylor fumbled. They didn't lose that game. Their season is much different. And so it's just kind of interesting, like the butterfly effect of one play, and how that changed Colorado's season. It's food for last thing before I go, Sean. I put the Utah Hockey Club last night in a cross sport parlay for my radio show.
Oh, no,
because they were playing what I thought was the worst team in the NHL. It turns out Utah is the worst team in the NHL, so they're dead to me. I even was looking to order a shirt yesterday because I thought they were going to win. I was going to joke with Stormy about it. Nope, dead to me.
Oh,
Utah Hockey Club dead to me.
It was so awful, Jeff. It was so disgusting.
I know it was.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
That killed your parlay.
So no, I had the Yankees money line too, but nonetheless.
All right.
So I just want to come on here and shame Utah.
Okay, then don't hate on the hockey club. If they were the only ones that ruined it, did the Yankees get one, or is this going to be a sweep?
No, I think Dodgers win tonight.
Wow.
The Yanks look dead, buddy. They look like they're
That's
dead.
from a Giants fan.
Yeah, about to say.
I know it's not good.
From a horrible sports team perspective, like that's
all right, guys. I have got to go.
All right, Jeff.
I very much enjoyed it. I'll talk to you guys next week.
Okay. Always
Bye,
great
guys.
hearing from you. That's Jeff Schwartz, longtime co-host of mine, NFL veteran, played 8.5 seasons in the NFL, offensive line for several different teams.
My favorite part of today. Favorite part of today. I have him in queue because we text back and forth, hey, connect to this, blah, blah, blah. Comes on the line. Utah Hockey Club is dead to me. Just the first thing he says. Right out the gate.
That is one thing when you wager on sports, it drastically affects your perspective on certain teams.
Oh, 100%. I mean, you heard him. He's like, I was looking to order a shirt. No more. They ain't getting any of my money. It's a tough scene. Wait, we didn't actually get to talk about this. So yesterday, obviously it was the day after Sunday, when your Niners beat the Cowboys, you were excited just because you hate the Cowboys?
Well, look, it's good to see your team get a win to get back to 500.
Right.
And there are some losses that feel worse than others.
Right.
And there are some wins that weigh a little bit heavier than others also.
Right.
And that's what the Cowboys are. Like you go back to the origin story of, people my age becoming football fans. And I was raised to be a Niners fan, mostly by my grandparents didn't raise me, but my grandparents cared more about sports than my parents did.
Yeah.
So my grandparents would bring me the Niners gear and be like, you like the Niners, we're going to watch the Niners game together. And then still you have to decide for yourself. There's this inflection point in your life, in your growth, where you decide what teams you're a fan of, right? Usually when you're 9, I don't know, what's the age?
Yeah, I think it's about right, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old.
Yeah, right? So as I'm becoming more autonomous as a human being and can watch games of my own volition now, I'm not just a slave to whatever's on the television. It was the Niners. And the Niners and the Cowboys had those early 90s rivalry games, and they were both constantly vying for supremacy in the NFC. And as a Niner, I hated the Cowboys from then all the way until now. So still, when the 49ers take on the Cowboys, it's well, you can lose, but don't lose to them.
So lose to anybody except the Cowboys.
Well, no, hopefully don't lose to anybody, but
well, that's gone out the window.
Thank you. But it's if you lose to the Seahawks, that sucks because it's a divisional game and everything.
Right.
I'd rather see that than a loss to the Cowboys, though.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, I feel
They're
it.
not all created equal.
Yeah.
There are teams your football team is the Packers.
Correct.
Losing to the Bears, I assume, feels worse to you than losing to anyone else.
It does. And I mean, listen, this is a shout out to Bear fan. I haven't really experienced that, so I don't know what that's like. But I agree. And truthfully, the Bears are that one team for me because one of my best friends, shout out to my friend Ricardo, is a Bears fan for some weird reason. And he talks a lot of trash. And then once the years of abuse catch up to him real quickly, then there's that. And then my friend Robert's a big Cowboy fan, and obviously he talks a lot of trash. And then once, the tradition, unlike any other, happens every Sunday where they manage to lose, he goes radio silent on me for a few days.
It's why college rivalries are so profound and so great.
Yes.
Because you take this sentiment that does exist in pro sports and you boil it down, you reduce it, you distill it to like its purest form, right? You cook that thing down to the concentrate. And that's what BYU versus Utah is. That's what Texas versus Oklahoma is. That's what Oregon versus Washington is. That's what Florida, Tennessee is. Like,
that's why you and I, the week of Notre Dame USC, won't be on speaking terms.
that's right. Especially,
Well, it's partially because we'll both be traveling, but still.
but also, I mean, come on. Your Trojans stink.
Okay.
The Irish are good.
Hey, they just beat Rutgers. How dare you?
They stink out loud. And you're going to pay $90 million to get out from under that albatross coaching contract.
80. Get the number right. 80.
Okay. All right. It is $10 million is significant.
It
It's
is.
a big difference.
It is, especially in California.
What a victory of commerce it is for somebody like Lincoln Riley. They not only gave him that contract, they gave him the deep security of having a prohibitively high buyout, and they bought his damn house and gave him a private jet to use.
Yeah. I think often where I messed up in life, and I often think I should have been a football head coach. So that way I could just have a golden parachute. Why be a CEO or a COO when I can get a golden parachute as a football coach?
You know, the thing, it is really something when we're in an off season, and maybe we'll get, a post-retired Kyle Whittingham a couple years down the line, and we could talk about the trade-offs that actually come because, look, it is a very, very lucrative business.
It's a grind.
But these guys don't see their families for 6 months.
I mean, Kyle has told me on occasion that he sleeps at the facility from time to time.
The work-life balance, by the way, if this is insult to injury right now for Utah fans, and I don't mean for it to be, but at BYU, because of the school's affiliation, religious affiliation, they're not allowed to have mandatory work days on Sunday.
Right.
They're the only team in the country, at least at the Power 4 level, that is not showing up for mandatory work days on Sundays in the football season. The work-life balance that, I mean, can you imagine you're at the coaching convention and you're just like, yeah, during the season I only have to go into the office 6 days a week. Everyone else is just like, what?
What?
And that is what sets you apart so distinctly, is that you only have 6 grinder days a week.
Win, lose, draw, doesn't matter. You don't have to watch film on Sunday.
Yeah, but look, I have friends in the coaching business, and if you can somehow be good enough and lucky enough to climb all the way to where Kalani Sitake's at, to where Kyle Whittingham is at, to where those guys get, like, yes, it's amazing. But there are 65 of those jobs in the country.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're the 1% of the 1%.
And the job security is nil.
Yeah, no, I mean, with it, you can make an argument that we're not going to see another Coach Witt type of kind of lineage for some. I mean, because Lincoln Riley, as an example, getting paid bags of money.
When Mike Gundy is done, and when Kyle Whittingham is done, and when Kirk Ferentz is done, Kirk Ferentz is the longest tenured right now.
Iowa, correct?
Yes, but when those guys are done,
that's it.
How rare is it going to be for someone to be 20 years in the same spot? It is not. It's not going to happen.
I mean, the only guy that may be able to do it, maybe, is his name escapes me right now at Georgia.
Kirby Smart.
Kirby Smart, thank you. Maybe.
Kirby Smart's already in his 50s, though.
Yeah, but I mean that, and he may only do it for like 10 years. You know what I mean? So I mean, it's Kalen DeBoer, if he can. I mean, he's obviously doing some stuff there. I don't think he would do it as long as Saban, but dang.
Yeah, it's wild. Don't know how we got on that tangent. Doesn't matter. USA Women's Hockey taking on Canada in the rivalry series happening at the Maverick Center November 8th. Listen all week right here to the Sean O'Connell Show for your chance to win a pair of tickets. You can also see the details on ESPN700sports.com. All right, let's see. Is Spence in the building today?
I believe he is. I have not seen him yet.
I got one more segment before we get to Spence anyway, but I want to jump back into this World Series discussion. Jeff Schwartz just said he thinks that the Dodgers are going to pull off a sweep. That is not good for baseball. Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700. We are a game away from seeing the MLB's dream of New York and LA in a World Series come to a screeching halt. This is what you want, right? The two major markets, the two largest media markets, star-studded rosters squaring off, battling it out in the Fall Classic. And it could be over in 4 games. And a lot of people think it will be over in 4 games because the Dodgers are just on that kind of a tear right now. And it's funny, Alonzo, because you are not even like thrilled about the idea of watching this be a sweep. You wanted it to be a series. You wanted it to be a battle of the Titans, it seems.
Absolutely. I mean, like you said, it's for baseball to showcase the sport, to showcase the superstars. I mean, you asked Chad Jennings yesterday, how many potential future Hall of Famers are on both of these teams? You know, Dave Roberts has probably solidified himself as a Hall of Fame manager. Obviously, Shohei Ohtani. So to me, it's, let it be a series. Like, let them go back and forth. Don't get me wrong. If Dodgers win tonight, I'm not gonna be mad. I'm gonna come in here and just flow champagne all over the place. But but make it like it's
just by yourself in here, making the monitors all sticky with the champagne.
And then tomorrow I'd be like,
sorry guys.
That's why he was celebrating. But no, for me, and I agree with you, it's you get the two kind of Goliaths of each coast meeting in the World Series. This is exactly what baseball wanted. And the Yankees forgot about it.
Well, it's one of the interesting things we talk about, and the college sports world deteriorated into these market size discussions during realignment that I just could not stand because you shouldn't care. You really shouldn't. Now, pro sports are a little bit different, and obviously because they're major markets, that's why they have pro sports teams. But for Major League Baseball, this is like, hey, if you could script it, you get a game, a series full of future Hall of Famers from the Big Apple and from LA, and you battle it out. But then the New York contingent, the Pinstripes, are just like, nah,
we're going to throw out Fat Joe.
And so what's better for baseball? If you have like Kansas City and like a Kansas City or a Seattle or a Cleveland or a Miami or whatever, like the Minnesota Twins, my beloved Minnesota Twins.
I mean,
versus, I don't know, Arizona.
Candidly, I mean, I'll be honest, and this isn't even as a Dodgers apologist. You could have honestly put anyone in the American League, the Kansas City Royals, the Guardians, any of those guys up against the Dodgers. I don't think it would have mattered, if I'm totally honest.
Well, the Dodgers right now, it doesn't look like it matters.
No, they are just playing baseball in a way that it's unfair.
But from the league standpoint, would you rather have a 7-game back and forth great series between lesser markets, or would you rather have the potential sweep between LA and New York? And they're averaging 17 million viewers a game right now,
which is great.
I think 4 games of 17 million viewers might be equal or better than 7 games of whatever it is, 10.
Like you said, I think no matter how we look at it, baseball wins, right? And whether it's 4 games of 17 apiece plus the entire country of Japan. And
that's also wild.
Yeah.
There's more Japanese viewers than domestic viewers right now.
Yes. Which is crazy. It's crazy. And again, I mean, last year, I think the number last year with that series last year between the Rangers and the Diamondbacks, I think it was like in the 5 to 7 range. So they've doubled, almost tripled that number. So they're stoked about it, right? And so I think it's a win no matter what. But what I was really hoping for is that, and because the Yankees have the roster to do it, to make this just a back and forth heavyweight fight, but instead the Dodgers are just going out there and just clobbering people like they're Francis Ngannou.
I will say this. Storybook endings in pro sports are too few and too far between these days because of the whole business first nature of everything.
Yeah.
I believe we're going to watch this Dodgers team take home the World Series championship in the same year that Shohei Ohtani made Major League Baseball history as being the first 50 and 50 guy. To have both of those things happen in a single season, wow.
And he's going to win the MVP. And let's also not forget, he's already paid for his deal just with one championship. And you know that they want multiples during this window, and it's showing you the window is there.
And he did that because he had a fall guy.
Oh, there it is. There it is. There it is.
You go back to that old veteran savvy. Make sure you got someone you can blame it on. Who is that? Chris Carter, who's telling the young folks that?
I believe it was Chris Carter who was saying that to the
You got to have someone who can eat those bad sandwiches for you.
Yeah. Well, well, let me ask you this. Had the Yankees made it a series, like right now, casual fan, would you be watching the series knowing that the Dodgers are going to clinch tonight? Or if the Yankees were actually making it a series, would you be more willing to tune in?
Well, I mean, I'm going to watch either way because it's my job, but that's probably the only reason I'm watching.
Well, I'm going to say, like, if you're just a fan, not in this space that you're in.
I think that Shohei's fascinating enough for the casual baseball fan that you want to watch him.
Okay.
Especially, a little added intrigue because he hurt his shoulder.
Right.
All right. We got to take a quick one here. We'll come back, quick chat with Spence Checketts, and more importantly, we'll give away some Jersey Mike's gift cards, some Farmer and Chemist gift cards, 2 tickets to U.S. Women's Hockey versus Canada in the Rivalry Series November 8th at Maverick Center. Spence heard me say more importantly the giveaway than talking to Spence. More important for you, the listener, to get free stuff, probably. Sean O'Connell Show, wrapping up next on ESPN 700. Wrapping up the Sean O'Connell Show with a trivia question for you. Freddie Freeman has 3 home runs in the current World Series that's already happening. 3 men in baseball share the record for the most home runs in a single series. Alonzo made sure that we throw an asterisk on at least one of them, but Mr. October, Reggie Jackson, Chase Utley, and George Springer all hit how many home runs in a single World Series? 877-353-0700. They share the record right now. Freddie Freeman is within striking distance. Reggie Jackson, Chase Utley, and George Springer hit how many home runs in a single World Series to set the current record? We will give you Farmer and Chemist gift card. We will give you Jersey Mike's gift cards, and we will give you tickets to USA Women's Hockey versus Canada in the rivalry series happening at the Maverick Center on November 8th, if you know how many home runs, at 877-353-0700. Spence Checketts in the drive coming up next. Spence, how are you?
I am good. I feel good. Life is good. I have no sports teams in my life right now doing anything for me at all. The Cavs went in the Garden, beat the Knicks. The Jets are committed to an old weird dude under center. The Yankees' bats have gone quiet. My Utes, man, as we talked about yesterday, I have never been as wrong about something as I've been wrong about Utah football, but I'm too blessed to be stressed. Love my job, love my coworkers, good hanging out with you guys. My son's good, family's good, friends are good. So I'm leaning in to showing gratitude.
Well, at least the Utah Hockey Club collapsed against the worst team in the NHL last night to make you feel better.
So they go up 4-1, and if what I read was correct, after they went up, they were outshot 20-0. They didn't have one more shot on goal. That's hard to do.
Oh, boy.
That can't be right. That can't be an accurate stat.
Yeah, I read that. I'm like, wait a second.
They got no shots off for all of overtime in the final 5 minutes or so of regulation.
That's what the game recap said. Unless
that can't be true.
I agree with you. It doesn't register. Their defense is bad. Their special teams isn't great. At least the offense looked a little bit better. But again, I remind everybody what Bill Armstrong reminded all of us during the introductory press conference when Spicy Tuna was getting everybody out of their seats. And Bill took the mic. He's like, hey, you guys, everyone knows that we're rebuilding, right? Like, he's like, hold on a second. I'm glad you're excited that we're here, but we're still really young. And, you know, it's going to ebb and flow. It's just fun to have him here, I guess. I've been texting with a couple of doctors, and I also hate the radio guy that's like, all right, well, the fractured fibula is different than the tibia. Shut up, man. Like, so I'm going to rely on some doctors to kind of help me understand exactly what's ahead for Taylor. Jazz lost again last night. The Jazz are the one team losing right now that I'm like, okay, let's go. Lose all the games. I have no issue with it. Obviously, we'll do some college football. Kevin Reynolds from the Tribune stops by. Do some NFL, and then Brian Dunstedt's going to hop on because we have a playoff game here in our market as RSL welcomes in Minnesota. So as we do every day, we're going to do a little bit of everything.
The correct answer was 5. 5 home runs in a single series.
Freddie Freeman needs to chill, man.
Whoa.
That dude is on fire.
He is.
And they fed him a meatball last night, and he smoked it. And I knew right away, because you know Yankee Stadium.
Yeah.
You know, right field.
Short porch.
You know, oh, yeah. So right when he hit it, I'm like, that's, 2 runs. And their bats are just silent, man. So hopefully they can at least get one and save a little face.
They changed up the lineup today.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, and it's a bullpen game for the Dodgers. Shout out to Brett
Yes,
Honeywell.
it is.
I
Yes,
hope
it
he
is.
just screwballs you guys into the ground.
Well, it probably will. I have no confidence in my Yankees right now. But we're going to have a good show. We're going to have fun.
Well, whether it's a sweep or a gentleman's sweep, Alonzo's going to be so insufferable when the Dodgers take this thing down.
I'm actually not that kind of a sports fan.
For Alonzo.
I'm not that kind of a sports fan.
You are.
No, I told you.
You are. You think you're not, but you are.
I'm gonna
It's
come
a good
in here.
try.
I'm gonna plastic wrap the studio, champagne.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for listening today to the Sean O'Connell Show. Stay tuned for the Drive with Spence Checketts on ESPN 700.